Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Smith Tools and Purchase, Level Plain Poem, Amish, Vitali Z, Colton James, BG, Survive the Spin, FE Patriot, On the Level, Thomas van der Zander, Gary Hughes, Measured Flat, Chris Wouters, Sea Level Cultist, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, The Name's Burley, Twodwazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, JMails24, Unimento, M, Iron26, Endless, Gold McKinnon, Retro Bill, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Dale West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Texas Mike, Charian Cat, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Jaren mentioning the sunsets in Antarctica?
No? Say again. Tell me all about it.
Yeah. Just phrase, Jaren says, oh yeah, the sun goes this way over the mountain and sets. And then Level Earth Observer was going into that. I believe it was yesterday.
Yeah, I
He
did see
released
it. We're a waste of time. So what?
So what?
Yeah, so what?
So it's just more convolution and more, shit that's out there.
If you pointed to the mountain with the sun there and said, look, it's setting, he actually pointed at it and said, look, it is setting, end statement. Hello. Take it to absurdity. He points at it and says, look, it's doing barrel rolls. Okay. So what? Just words he's saying. Does it matter? Does it matter what Jaren says? I would say no.
For a second there, I really didn't know if you wanted me to say no.
It wasn't rhetorical.
But no, nothing's going to be level.
Right, should we get into this video that Flat Earth Dave interviews Dr. Shiva talks with Flat Earth Dave. Why is he still calling himself Flat Earth Dave? Shouldn't he be calling himself It Could Be a Really Big Ball Dave?
And
we're going to get into that.
To me, one has to build a bottoms-up movement of working people to address this.
Sure.
There's a lot of people grift off a whole bunch of stuff, and they have no...
Yeah, Dave's one of them. He's got the app behind him. He's grifting off this. That's what you find if you search Flat Earth in the App Store. Dave's grifty app, where he's selling you an idea of how Earth is. Like, Dave hasn't got a clue. He hasn't measured jack. I mean, he'll nick any decent arguments that come his way when he needs to, and then flog you this for $5. But this is the shit you will find if you search for FE in the App Store. Dave will be grifting that money you have off him for this shit that world is not. That's what Dave is. He's a grifter, selling you this shit. This is what you'll find. This is Dave's grift. This is what he's selling you.
No interest in building any...
Like Dave's got no interest in building jack beyond his own bank balance.
Type of movement to get to truth, freedom, health.
Dave's not interested in the truth. I've tried to sit him down and talk to him about what science is. He wasn't interested. He was only interested in telling me about how good his boat was with all the money he'd made from his grift, with his app. Then he showed me all the people buying his app with a world that the world isn't in the app that he's selling people when he grifts off the people in this subject?
Well, we're trying to do that. We're trying.
No, you're not, Dave. You're just trying to screw people for money. That's the app that you've got behind you. That's not the world, Dave. That thing that you're showing people, that's shit. That's wrong. It's not the world. You haven't got a clue what the world is. You don't even know what science is.
To build that movement, and
You're not building jack beyond your balance of your bank, Dave. That's all you're building, you bloody grifter.
trying everything they can to stop us.
I'm not trying anything to stop you. I'm just pointing out facts. You're a grifter. You've sold this shit to people, haven't you, Dave? Yeah?
Because this is the one that breaks us free from the matrix.
Doesn't do anything. If you know how Earth's measured, it won't do anything for your life. It won't change anything. In fact, there's a good chance if you declare that openly and publicly, you'll be mocked for it. You think this opens your world to some Matrix metaphor? What grifting con, man? You're just scuzzball, Dave. Using this platitudes and references to the Matrix to try and sell your app. It's pathetic.
You know, you can't, you know, there's a lot of things going on in the world with child trafficking and home.
Sorry, that's completely non sequitur to how the world is and how it isn't on your grifty app behind you. Child trafficking, what's that got to do with the app that you're selling with a world that it isn't for $5? What's that got to do with anything?
What's this and wars and everything else, and people
Everything, nothing to do with your app that you're flogging people that's wrong.
say, Dave, why are you focusing on flat Earth?
Because you've got an app to flog, Dave. That's why. Because you're a grifter and a con man and you want to sell people apps with a picture of the world that it isn't. That's what you're doing, Dave.
And the reason is because
people will buy apps for $5.
if you don't know where you live, who you are, what this place is, if you don't know that you're at the center of creation, that you have.
Sorry, Dave, you don't know that. You don't know anything about this subject. You know how to flog apps. That's what you know. How to do PR for yourself. That's what you know.
Great power, then you can't do anything. You're lost in space, spinning out of control, and you're.
So what? And finding out that you're not in a sky vacuum means you're suddenly all powerful. You don't become frickin' He-Man when you find out the Earth's not a globe, Dave. Stop lying to people and selling them this grifty con, a delusion that you're going to become all powerful because you find out Earth's not a globe. Don't lie to people, Dave. You're creating false hope.
You're powerless.
But yeah, powerless if you're on a ball floating through a sky vacuum. What? By inference, you're saying when you find out that's not the case, you become powerful. Don't lie. Don't lie, Dave.
People think that governments rule over them. Nothing rules.
They do! You stupid dickhead. You honestly think that the governments aren't in control? They're not controlling things. They make the bleeding laws! You stupid dumbass! Are you insane?
Rules over you other than God, right?
So the governments don't control you. I'll break a few laws, Dave, and see what the government do to you.
And so,
And so you're stuttering and talking utter nonsense, aren't you? Yeah? Utter garbage from a grifter, here to only achieve one end. It's money in his bank from his grift with his app. That's it. That's what Dave's doing.
people don't realize they have free will. People just think that they're, are stuck in this slave system, and the globe.
It's just a generalized stereotyping fallacy. Empty platitude from a grifter.
Is a prison for your mind.
To Matrix reference much? You think you're sounding smart when you're referencing the Matrix from 1999? A prison for your mind? No, Dave, it's not a prison for your mind. It was a way of better figuring out where the stars would be. If you knew the history of what it was actually used for, you'd know what it was actually designed to do.
Right? And think about this. When people search flat Earth, they come up with this.
Right, I just spent quite a considerable amount of time pointing out that what they find is your shitty app. With a different version of the world that it isn't. So you're going to, point out your enemy for doing what you do? Don't follow their grift that's free based on an internet search. Because it's wrong. Instead, give me $5 for my world that's wrong. Right, Dave?
This is stupid. Okay.
Your app's stupid, Dave. It was behind you 5 seconds ago. It's wrong. It's stupid. And you're selling it.
No flat earther thinks that Earth is this, but this
Right, no flat earther thinks your app is the world, but you flogged it to many of them, haven't you, Dave?
is what they want you to think.
No, you want them to think it's the world on your app for $5. You bleeding grifter.
Like if you Google, hey, top 10 reasons the Earth could be flat, Google's going to deliver you top 10 reasons the Earth is a globe.
Why are you suggesting that people go out and look on Google for what the Earth is? Why not advise them to look at Earth and how it's measured, as opposed to what Google will bleed and tell you about the surface of the Earth?
Because they don't want you.
Who's they? Google? Google's a search engine, Dave. Are you an idiot? There is no they when you're talking about Google. It's not a they, it's a search engine.
Finding the true information of this world. You asked me before when I first got into it. I went into it with a bad attitude. I went in, I'm just going to disprove flat Earth, prove the globe, and I tried for weeks.
You asked me, and then you gave a statement about him disproving flat Earth. That was a massive sentence fragment with a claim to be question that you were asked by him, followed by a statement about doing research. Coherency much?
To find proof of the globe, but I couldn't. And the more I looked, the worse it got. And then I realized, oh my God, the Earth is not a globe.
So you didn't find out much about how they measured flat Earth elevation angles to create the globe. Later on in this interview, Dave specifically mentions that. But now he's into his script, his generalised script that he rattles off to anybody he talks to, that makes no frigging sense whatsoever, and mainly focuses on about the globe.
And then I was afraid to even talk about it because I'm like, oh my God, all of the other work I've done on all of the other deceptions is going to be discredited. But then I realized this is the truth. I have to do it. Back in 2014, when I was doing that, nobody was really open for a discussion on flat Earth. It's like, you're nuts. But now,
when you talk to Dave about things like science and the scientific method and proving things, he'll lose interest pretty quickly. Yeah. And the reason I've been sent this video by Brian's Logic is because of that very fact. Dave hasn't got a clue about what science is. That'll be made abundantly clear in a moment.
People like yourself, other people are all doing it. You had an interview with Owen Benjamin. He fought it like tooth and nail. But now he's full on. He knows we don't live on a globe, right?
Right, he fought what full on? And now he knows we don't live on a globe. What about knowing it's flat? Your name's Flat Earth Dave, and you go around making people know that they're not on a globe. But yet, when asked if you know for sure and without a doubt Earth is flat by Jesse Peterson, you said it could be a really big ball, end quote, you. So you're just a charlatan, Dave. You're a con man.
Right? I mean, this is 127,000 feet up, right?
How do you know? How do you know this is 128,000 feet? What, because they told you it was? So you just trust what they say. So you're going to simultaneously tell people not to trust the government and not to trust what the internet says. But here's something I got from the internet, and here's the value that they ascribe to it that I'm going to take as read. How the hell do you know?
Whenever we send a balloon up,
we, royal we, like you sent this balloon up, did you, Dave?
The Earth is white, okay? It's white because of the thickness of the...
Is it? Paula, I'm colourblind. Is this white? Ish. Why-ish? Okay.
The atmosphere, right? But
Atmo what now? Atmosphere? Dave, you're a clown. You're a shill. You're here to sell people sphericity, aren't you? Atmosphere's an oxymoron. Air doesn't arbitrarily take sphere shapes. That's part of the heliocentric rhetoric. Why would you be peddling this, you bleeding shill? Stop talking about globes, Dave. Stop selling people globes. Stop brainwashing people subtly with words like atmosphere. Sphere-shaped oxymoronic air? No, Dave, definitely not. It's a violation of a law of nature. Why would you be peddling this as a flat earther who's claimed to be anti-NASA, anti-space, and yet you're talking about atmosphere? Shill. Just a shill. He's paid. They paid Dave to brainwash you with this shit. Didn't they, Dave? They, the imaginary they that you made up a moment ago.
But NASA shows us these color graphic pictures of Earth. They're in Technicolor.
So we're into what NASA do. Great work converting people to being flat earthers, like your namesake here, Dave. Tell them what NASA do. That's a wonderful way of telling people Earth's flat, isn't it? Tell them all about NASA and the globe and atmosphere. It sounds like you're just here to brainwash people with lots of globe terminology to me, Dave. So what's with the name? Ed?
Is this all just a pre-recording or what?
Is this what?
Is it? Oh, okay. Well, you answered my question. So I thought you was just playing a pre-recorded video of yours or something at first. I didn't.
Okay, thank you. Very, very productive. Oh, you want to know if I'm here and I'm real? No, this is a recording. I recorded this 2 weeks from now.
Okay. Well, I didn't know that you usually. I thought you saved all that for like the actual show.
No, I buffer
It said the pre-show.
recordings. So in 2 weeks from now, I'll be actually recording this. But for now, you're listening to a recording in advance of me actually doing it 2 weeks from now.
Right?
Oh.
Look at this light here. It's a local light. It's lighting up this area right here. Right? It's darker over here because this is a local light. What is it? We don't.
What is it we don't know? You've just told him it's local. So tell him it's local and then tell him you don't know.
know.
So why tell him it's friggin' local then? If you don't know, don't tell him it's something. Don't tell him it's anything if you don't know. What a bleeding outrage. Is it just old crappy rhetoric meets I don't really know new rhetoric like we say? So you've simultaneously got to say it's a local light source. Dave, you've been flogging people an app that suggested it was a local light going around on a clock for quite some time. Yet it turned out you're a shithead, Dave. You misled everybody and conned them with your crap graph and your crap grift, didn't you? You didn't have a clue where the sun was or what it was going to do. You told him it would be in a certain place. Do I need to play McToon turning on location services in Antarctica to show how friggin' wrong you were, Dave? No, Dave, you're just wrong. There's no two ways about it. Now, we don't be so bold as to tell people what the sun is, i.e. local, like you just did. Yeah, you're embarrassing us, Dave. You just stop it. You don't represent me. Why are you out here talking about what flat earthers do and how being a flat earther has affected you? You're but one man and you're wrong. You're only here to con people. You're only here to get their money. It's your only purpose in being here.
Right? But it's a local light for sure. It can be proven that.
To this dude, right? This Shiva guy. This man's a con artist. Why are you endorsing this shithead con artist that nobody here endorses on flat earth? I'll tell you about flat earth, Mr. Shiva. Earth's measured flat. There you go. Now you know. You want to know about Earth? Look at how it's measured. There you go. Didn't need Dave. Why is he talking to you? Because he needs your audience to buy his frigging app that's wrong. Now, he's already deceived a shit ton of people. And he's being called out left, right and centre for it. Why are you endorsing him? Are you part of his grift? Are you here to also shitbag everybody with lies like Dave does? Because this man's not a flat earther. He doesn't know anything about the subject. We've tried to discipline and educate him in the subject. He doesn't want to know. He only wants to sell his con man grift. So are you part of that? Is that what you're here for, Shiva? To peddle the shitheads in this subject? Make them more popular than the people who tell you like it is? I'm not here to perpetuate any movement either. I'm not here to start some grassroots shite like you suggested we should do. No, I just tell people Earth's measured flat. They can get on with their bleeding day then. They don't have to pay Dave a $5. They can get on with it. They don't need to worry about whether or not government's lying to them. They just know Earth's measured flat and how the globe was created with those measurements. Yeah? Now, we also go on, if they're interested, to tell them how they were deceived into being on a ball, if they're interested. Dave leads with that. Because what does he tell people when push comes to shove? It could be a really big ball. End quote, Dave Weiss. So, Mr. Shiva, why are you propping up this shill? This grifting con man, who's wrong, who double speaks about Flat Earth Society showing you one thing, while he's got his frigging app behind him? Are you blind?
And, you know, we live on this realm. Now, we're going to be
Don't bullshit people. We live on this realm. You haven't got a frigging clue what you're talking about. You're just a bullshitter. We live on a realm. What the hell does that even mean? What does it mean? We live on a realm. Is it back to being frigging He-Man?
talking about where we live in this incredibly large system. And we live on this dielectric plane inside a toroidal field.
Do we? Prove it. Show. Evidence, dickhead. This is empty words spoken to a man who's not objecting one iota. Do you accept this shit? Are you supposed to be a doctor? Dr. Shiva? Where's your bullshit detector? Why aren't you calling him on any of this crap?
Right? And so we're going to be talking about 1% of what this world is. And that's where we live, on the 1%, the dielectric plane.
How the hell do you know any of this? How does he know that there's, 99% more land that's undiscovered and it's a dielectric plane? Plane, yeah, dielectric. What the bloody hell are you babbling about?
The Earth is supposedly rotating at 1,000 miles an hour.
Now we're into the anti-globe grift. Tell people how it's not a sphere for the next 25 straight minutes, undoubtedly.
below this balloon, right? 1,000 miles an hour to the east. This balloon is disconnected from the Earth.
Why are you telling him this? Did he ask about it? This is just shill mentality. Dave's a shill and he's here peddling globe stuff to you. He's now talking about what the globe doesn't do. What you fail to appreciate as an audience is he's still talking about the globe, isn't he? Not telling you Earth's measured flat. He's not responding to this guy asking about inertial planes of reference. Not at all. He's just told you it's a dielectric plane of reference, and now he's talking about how the globe says it's a non-inertial frame of reference. So what? Not their non-inertial frame of reference, but his dielectric reference. Oh, I see, Dave. Your dielectric plane, not their accelerating plane of reference that's non-inertial. I see. Yours, not theirs. You're just a bullshit con man. You're replacing one paradigm with another bullshit paradigm that you've made up. Moreover, taken from bullshit con men like Witsit and Bob and Jaren. They're the bullshitters who gave you this shit about Earth being a dielectric accelerating plane.
Earth. It's nearly in space, if that's a real thing.
No, it isn't. It violates a law of nature, second law of thermodynamics. You'd know that if you actually paid attention to people who do know what we talk about when it comes to flat Earth. We've tried, haven't we, Dave? You braced against us, didn't you? In favour of telling people on big platforms that it could be a really big ball, end quote you.
And when it came down, it landed east of where it took off. It should have landed, it was up for...
Should it? Should it have had Earth turning underneath? Notice how Dave's now telling this audience how Earth should be turning under stuff. That's what he's telling you. Shill.
For 3.5 hours. It should have landed 3,000 miles out west.
Should it? Right, Dave? It should have landed elsewhere because Earth turns underneath stuff. Yeah. Pay attention to how he's brainwashing you. He's keeping you on the ball. Telling you how the ball works. By telling you how it doesn't. Not telling you Earth's flat. This is a non-positive claim. I don't have to defend this shit.
What balloon are you talking about, Dave?
This shot right here is just a weather balloon. Went up to 100.
Yeah, so let's just go to
20,000 feet.
Let's take time out here. Let's just take first principles. Okay.
Yep.
Let's just go to very simple first principles.
Sure.
Okay. And let's go to the basic scientific method.
Oh, this should be interesting. Let's see first and foremost if Dr. Shiva knows what that is.
So let's review what the scientific method is. What is the scientific method?
Observable, repeatable, testable with an independent variable and a fixed variable.
What the fuck are you talking about, you stupid spastic? Dave, maybe you should have paid attention when I tried to educate you, dumbass, on this stuff. What did you do instead, Dave? Did you tell me all about how you sunbathe on your boat with Witsit? Should I show those messages, Dave? How you rejected an education in science in favour of showing me how many app sales you were getting? Yeah? Telling me about how you sunbathe on your boat with all those app sales? Dave, you're a shithead. You have not got the slightest idea. You're just parroting the vaguities that you've vaguely heard about what the scientific method is. Now, let me enlighten you. The scientific method establishes the cause of naturally occurring phenomena. Step 1, observe natural phenomena. Step 2, formulate a prediction for the cause of the phenomena. That is your independent variable, supposed cause of the effect you observed in step 1. The effect you observed in step 1 is your dependent variable, that which you are trying to study. Step 3, actualize hypothesis, already established in step 2, with your independent and dependent variable, supposed cause and effect. Vary supposed cause, see if it causes effect. That's an experiment. That is about as concise as it gets when it comes to a description of the scientific method. What Dave Weiss just said was shite. Garbage. Nonsense from a con man who hasn't got a clue what he's talking about.
Something that's done.
Well, no, that's not what the scientific method is.
Yeah, that's right, Dr. Shiva. You tell this twat who's here to con your audience and grift $5 for apps off them that are wrong, while simultaneously telling you, don't believe what the Flat Earth Society show you the Earth is. Believe me when I bullshit you about what science is. Because Dave just lied through his back teeth to you, didn't he, Dr. Shiva? Pretended to know what science was. What did he say? Observable, repeatable, dependable. Is that what you thought science was there, Dave, dickhead? Now, I tried to tell you and you shut me down, didn't you, dickhead? Now, It's showing just how embarrassing your knowledge and acumen on this subject is, Dave. It's woeful.
Just follow what is the scientific method. What's the first step in the scientific method?
You tell me where you want.
He's asking you and you just told him. You just made out like you freaking knew. You bullshitting charlatan. You con man. We're going to cover this on the live show. We're going to expose exactly how big a grifting con man, lying scumbag degenerate Dave Weiss is. He just gave him an answer like he friggin' knew, didn't he? And when he's called on it, no, that's not right. What's step one? You tell me. No, Dave, you're exposed. You're a friggin' con man. Pretend a clown. You haven't got a clue. Why are you in front of this doctor trying to pretend that you can enlighten him? What an outrage.
Glad you caught up.
Yeah, we'll cover that on the live show. Excellent. What an embarrassment. Hello, Neil.
That was a good time.
No, I was just saying I'm glad you caught up. We've been telling you he's a fraud a long time ago.
Yeah, but in this scenario, normally, I would hope that Dave would actually lay down a decent answer with Dr. Shiva and go, this is what science is. Bang, 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 bang. So he seems credible. But he's not there to be credible, is he?
No,
He's there
he
to
didn't pay
grift.
attention to one thing you told him.
It didn't. He shut me down before I got to the end of explaining what the first step was. He could have answered this question, but for the fact that he shut me down and made me know how he was grifting everyone. And then he sent me a little video clip of all the people paying him. And then he told me about his boat. That's what Dave does. He's a grifter. He's a con man. He's not here to educate you. The guy's calling him on what science is, and he doesn't fucking know. Tempted to go live just to go, so we can actually get into this. What do you reckon? Should we go live 10 minutes early?
Do it, do it, do it.
Are you talking to me, hun? What'd you say? I'll give you a minute. Oh, okay. My wife's saying no. She's saying she's doing things in the kitchen.
Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it.
Yeah, I want to carry on covering it, but obviously I've reached a point where I want to actually put that into the live video.
It was good to hear. It was kind of like old times. Like I came in and it was like Mystery Science Theater 3000. I was like, oh yeah.
Talk about something else while we're waiting. Had Adam doing a little bit of a run around for me on Saturday. On Facebook Marketplace, a microphone came up for sale. It was very, very cheap. And about, I don't know, however long ago it was I bought this microphone that I'm using now. I wanted a similar, not the same, microphone. But obviously I was just going to buy one microphone, right? So I bought one microphone, thought that's the one I want. And then however many years later, I've now bought a new interface to solve a different problem. And I'm like, you know what? It'd be really nice to actually try out that other mic and see if it actually does sound better. And then one came up for sale. I'm like, Adam, can you go around to this guy's house and see if you can buy this microphone off him? Which I haggled the price right down to almost nothing compared to its original retail price.
What a guy that Meekin is. What
He's a good
guy,
guy, isn't he? He just sent me a receipt for the postage. I should really pay him for it. It's cost him 15 quid just to post it to me. Yeah, I got it very, very cheap. From a kid, it would seem. Which, I don't know. I'll have to ask Adam about it when he gets on later. See what the deal is with the person he picked it up from.
Hey, Nathan.
Yes.
I'm in Radio City Music Hall, and there's a mob of people just came in because they have to get the show ready for Saturday Night Live.
Okay. Cool. Very cool.
It's crazy how many people are here, and we're not done with the flooring yet. But it's supposed to be hush hush.
Who's in charge then? Who's the union?
This damn phone. I'm getting a new phone Friday. It keeps going black on me. I don't know. Somebody on stage, like I'm like where the concessions are. So I'm looking down at the stage. What is that called again? Stage, right? If I'm looking at the stage.
Yeah.
It's called prompt.
People have no idea what goes into this stuff.
I do. That's what I trained to do. Yes, a lot goes into making people entertained, Neil.
Yeah, just the amount of work to get it presentable. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Right, should we start?
Yes, this is going to be fun, this one. How are you?
Hello.
I'm good, other than waking up to a message from Brian's Logic, which I'll read out to you. It says, "You got to hear this. I'm only 11 minutes in and this guy's telling Dave what the scientific method is incorrectly. And Dave is almost correcting him on it. But he didn't learn about it, so he's a numpty." He goes on and then gives me the link. Right. So, we've been covering this in the pre-show and we've reached a point that presumably Brian's Logic was referring to. So I'll do the usual YouTube stuff, which is to say, go and let Flat Earth Dave interviews channel. No, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment that doesn't immediately get removed by the YouTube algorithm or Dave himself, the videographer in this instance. The idea being that if Dave was to do a response to us, he would put a link to my video in his video about us talking about him. Now, where we've reached in this particular video, we have covered maybe 5 minutes of this prior to the live stream. That is to say, we've done it in the pre-show. If you're a member, you can check that out at your leisure once this recording is finished. As always, become a member if you did happen to want to watch the first 5 minutes. But we've reached a point where basically Dave's been asked what science is. He's rattled off a generic, incorrect, crappy answer. And then the guy, Dr. Shiva in this instance, has said, "No, that's not right. What's the first step?" And Dave's gone, you tell me. So based on that, I've gone pretty nuts and started swearing, which I've got to try and get a handle on. I've been listening back to some of my own shows recently and going, my language is absolutely abysmal. So in at least this live show, I'm going to try and put a bit of like a stopper on it and see if I can rein it in just for the live show at the very, very least. In spite of my outrage at what we're hearing in this instance. You'll know why when you hear it yourself. Now, I'll give you a bit of a backstory so I don't have to do it in the middle of the reaction to it. But I've approached Dave and tried to educate him on this exact thing. What is science? Now, there's a reason why Dave, Jaron, Bob, Whitsitt, all of the grifters didn't want to know what science was. It's because it interferes with their grift. They use these words like experiment to peddle ether. Incoherent dielectric accelerated planes, that's all punted with bullshit science that has no validity, that hasn't been through the method. So knowing that is detrimental. Dave shut me down when I tried to educate him on this stuff. Instead, boasted about his bleeding boat and how much money he gets from app sales.
It landed east of where it took off. It should have landed, it was up for over 3.5 hours. It should have landed 3,000 miles out west.
Yeah, notice the shilly language where Dave's telling you how much globe should have affected this item. Doesn't matter that he's bracing against it. He's using the same words, saying Earth will turn underneath this object, or Earth should turn underneath this object. It's still you, the audience, hearing how Earth's turning underneath stuff, and Dave's the one telling you. Now you'll go, I'm telling you how it isn't turning underneath. You're the one who brought it up. You're the one describing this rhetoric. You're the one describing Earth turning.
The
What balloon
ocean.
are you talking about, Dave?
This shot right here is just a weather balloon. Went up to
Yeah, so let's just go to
20,000 feet.
let's take time out here. Let's just take
Okay.
first principles. Okay.
Yep.
Let's just go to very simple first principles.
Sure.
Okay. And let's go to the basic scientific method. So let's review what the scientific method is. What is the scientific method?
Dave will now lie through his back teeth with bullshit that he doesn't understand. Let's listen.
Observable, repeatable, testable with an independent variable and a fixed variable. Something that's done in
Well,
nature.
no, that's not what the scientific method. Let's just follow what is the scientific method. What's the first step in the scientific method?
You tell me. Where you
Where are you going to stutter and go from here, Dave? Because you don't know, do you? Do you remember shutting me down? Do I need to put up the messages? I'm not that kind of videographer, I'll be honest. I find it tedious. But just take my word for it when I tell you I went through this with Dave and in no uncertain terms he rejected the information, shut me down and told me how many apps he was flogging with a bullshit world that you definitely don't live on.
you want to go with this?
What? He asked you what the scientific method was, Dave. That's where he wants to go. Isn't that obvious from his question about the scientific method and him asking you to detail it and you attempting to and him telling you no, pointing out how wrong you were and then asking you what the first step is and you just simply putting the question back to him because you don't know, you bleeding con man.
Well, I think we need to follow the framework, what we're going to use to get to truth.
Sure.
So the scientific method, because otherwise it's just everyone's just talking over each other.
Sure.
The scientific method says first you come up with a hypothesis.
No, that's not what you first come up with. That's incorrect. Dr. Shiva doesn't know either. A hypothesis for what? A hypothesis is a suppositional statement of cause and effect. Well, you've got to have an effect to be studying to formulate a hypothesis. So that's step 2. Step 1 is observe naturally occurring phenomena. Something happening in nature that you can go, I wonder why that happened. That's a phenomena. That's a step that you must take. You must see it happening first before you can say, I'm going to suppose a cause. That's a hypothesis. A supposed cause of the effect you observed in step 1.
Step 1.
Sure.
No, that's step 2. Suppositional explanation in an if and then statement. That's a hypothesis, otherwise known as scientific prediction. It predicts the cause of an effect. It is yet to be validated. It's step 2, not step 1. You're just wrong, Dr. Shiva.
You can have a hypothesis that the Earth is round or the Earth is flat or the Earth.
No. A hypothesis is a suppositional explanation. That's what it is. It's not, I can have a hypothesis that Earth is flat. What? Is Earth being flat a phenomena that you observe in nature that you want to know the cause of, that you're going to vary and manipulate causal influences for? No. It seems like Dr. Shiva's holding Dave to task on something he doesn't know either. You can't have a hypothesis in scientific terminology. Earth is flat, Earth is a ball. Those are shapes. There's an aspect that's flat and a shape on the table, and you think that's science. Wrong.
Sure.
Earth is
Sure.
whatever. You know,
Why are you agreeing with him? A second ago, you didn't know what it was, and now you're nodding along with him. How do you know he's right? This is what the problem is with charlatans like Dave Weiss. How do you know he's right, Dave? You're nodding along. You don't have the slightest clue what science is. You're asking him to tell you, and you're just agreeing like he knows. That's the problem, isn't it?
multi-dimensional. Okay, it's not Earth. It's maybe 15th dimensional, whatever that is. Okay.
What the bloody hell are you babbling on about? 15th dimensional. There's length, breadth, and depth. That's it. What the hell are you talking about? 15th dimensional. Non sequitur first and foremost. You're talking about science. Dimensional what? Pseudo-Riemannian dimensions, potentially. I don't think so, sir. This is definitely not science.
Okay. Then the next thing you do, you agree that you're going to do an experiment.
So your idea of science is, I say Earth's a tomato. Or it could be a blancmange. Now we go forth and experiment. I say Earth has a hypothesis of could be blancmange. Now we experiment. You dickhead. What the hell are you babbling about? Why are you calling yourself a doctor? Because this is a stupid title for somebody who comes up with some sort of garbage. No, suppositional statements like Earth is a ball aren't going to sit well when observing natural phenomena and trying to figure out the cause thereof. You're making this stuff up, sir. You don't know what science is either. You're worse than Dave. Because you've established yourself as an authority by calling yourself doctor and then babbling crap that's incorrect also. You're no better than the charlatan sat next to you.
Sure.
The methodology.
What do you mean, sure? He's wrong, Dave. Fundamentally wrong. But given that you don't know what science is, and what he's just said contradicted the list of garbage nonsense that you spewed out your mouth, why would you be agreeing with him? Why aren't you defending the position that you just spewed out 35 seconds ago? That was also wrong.
Of an experiment, step 2.
So you think experiment is step 2, do you? Based on Earth could be flat, Earth could be a sphere. It's a hypothesis, you know. It sounds like he's just repeating the shite he got from a minister called Pastor Will Duffy. Am I wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Then you gather data from that experiment.
Sure.
Okay, and you agree what data you're going to gather.
So I agree, we'll gather data of whether or not Earth has the constituent parts of a blancmange. It's my hypothesis, you know. Earth is a blancmange, so saith the scientific hypothesis. You clown.
Sure.
So
why are you agreeing with him? This dickhead doesn't know anything. Don't agree if you don't know to agree. You don't know he's right. He isn't.
But once that's step 3 in the scientific method.
What was step 3 again? I had step 2 being step 1, hypothesis construction. And then experiment, step 3, being step 2. So what was step 3, according to you?
That once you gather that data.
Oh, is it gathering data? So it's step 1, formulate a hypothesis, a prediction for whatever you like, it seems. Because that prediction's going to be Earth is a sphere. All right. Is that a variable? Earth being a sphere? Is it your independent variable or your dependent variable, Mr. Clown Shoes Shiva? You don't know what science is either. Neither does Dave. You shouldn't be agreeing, and you certainly shouldn't be telling us what a hypothesis construction is, because this is garbage.
You organize that data, and then...
I'll see. So if I figure out all of the ingredients for a blancmange, and I organise that data, and then go on a merry little dance, finding out whether or not Earth has the constituent parts of a blancmange, and then put them in a nice little graph, so far I've competed with your clown shoes method, haven't I? Are we going to be establishing in the experiment whether or not Earth's a blancmange or not?
You produce a model from that data. With that.
Gotcha. So all that data of ingredients will be basically a model. I'm going to call that graph and all the data that I gathered about blancmanges and their ingredients, I'm going to call that a model. Earth blancmange model. I've got lots of data. I've got it on a graph. It's basically a model. It's lots of numbers on a piece of paper. That's a model, isn't it?
That data gives.
Sure.
If that
why again is Dave agreeing with this? Dave, you don't know what you're talking about. You shouldn't be saying anything. You certainly shouldn't be agreeing.
Data matches your hypothesis.
Oh, I see. So when I gather up bits of blancmange ingredients from around town, like not from shops, like just from scraping them up around town, like scraping them up off the floor, if I can achieve all of the ingredients for a blancmange, that's basically comporting to my model. I mean, I've gathered all the data. I've put it on a piece of paper. That's a model. So I'm basically proving Earth's a blancmange by this standard, aren't I?
You say, great. I believe I have something here that's true.
I believe I have something that is true. Earth, it be a blancmange.
All right, let's do it.
I did it for you metaphorically. It made you look stupid, both of you. Just so we're clear what's happening here. I'm making you look stupid with your idiocy that isn't science.
Let me finish. Let's just go through, because a lot of people didn't learn this.
You, sir, are an arrogant prick. Dr. Shiva, you're stopping him because in your deluded idiot mind, you think you're in authority. I bet you sit in some quack couch telling people about their friggin' feelings, don't you? I bet you're a psychologist. Yeah? With this demeanour of certainty, like, I am the authority. Let's just make you stop for a moment so I can babble nonsense and seem important. You pretentious wanker. Let it be known, this man doesn't know what he's talking about. He's just spewed complete garbage. He has no right whatsoever to sit in his pompous tone, demeaning Dave, even though Dave's a clown and a charlatan and a fraud and a scumbag and a con man and a grifter. It doesn't mean you've got any right to be pompous. Yeah?
This in third grade.
Yep.
What? You think you learnt that in third grade? Show me the lesson. I challenge Dr. Shiva to show me a third grade science lesson that in any way whatsoever comports with the shite he just spewed. Because it won't. He's a fraud. You will not find any third grade lesson that describes formulating a hypothesis with the concrete noun of an aspect that's flat or a geometric shape that's spherical. You will not do that. You are an idiot, Dr. Shiva.
Which is, and I don't think the educational system teaches this anymore.
So you just said it was third grade, and now you've contradicted yourself by saying that the educational system won't teach it. Would that be you comprehending that someone like me could come along and say, okay, show us the third grade lesson that actually parallels with the garbage that just came out of your mouth? Oh, I bet not actually leave that on the table because I'll be called out on it. They don't teach that anymore. What, the stuff you just made up, sir? No, they never taught that ever. You just made it up. You're a fraud. Don't pretend to my audience and yours and Dave's that this was ever any part of any education structure ever. It's not. It's the ramblings of a fraud liar like yourself. You're in good company. You're next to a grifter called Dave Weiss. Could be a big ball Dave. Goes by Flat Earth Dave. End quote. Could be a big ball Dave.
And then if you prove that.
Prove what? So far, you've got two suppositions that are nonsensical, contrasted with blancmange by me.
Your data.
What, data ingredients for blancmange? Yeah, got all that down.
And that model matches.
Yeah, it matched. Yeah, we gathered up all of the primary and constituent parts for a blancmange just on the surface of Earth. It was amazing. Earth be a blancmange. I've got a model based on the maths that we gathered with the empirical data.
Your hypothesis, then you.
Yeah, my hypothesis was Earth is blancmange. Yep. Got it all covered.
Do another experiment.
Are we going to do another one? I don't think we need to. I'm pretty sure I've just covered it, haven't I? Didn't I cover every aspect of what you just jabbered on about nonsensically, claiming it was third grade and then it had never been taught? Or they used to.
Correct.
And you iterate over and over and over again. Correct. And if you say that it's reproducing, and if you say at this point in time, based on the data we have.
News just in. 25 other people scraped up all of the ingredients for blancmange off Earth's surface. They did it in multiple countries. Earth's a blancmange. It's true everywhere.
We have a law that the Earth is XYZ, okay?
What law would that be? We have a law that Earth can be X, Y, and Z. When I use laws of nature, natural laws, nothing to do with science, which is the discussion point on the table currently, but apparently he needs to throw in that there's laws and they're XYZ. Now, we detail things like gas dispersing into volumes. That's called entropic dispersion, entropy being the second law of thermodynamics. So that's where we'd find that law useful. You haven't actually detailed any law. You've just said that they do exist and that they describe X and Y and Z. Empty nonsense from a bullshitter who just lied to his audience, my audience, and Dave's audience about what science is. He hadn't got a clue. He made it up. It was wrong.
Got it.
So let me give you an example so let's just set the framework of science here. Or do we agree that
you're going to set the framework of science? That sounds familiar. That sounds like something that a bullshitter called Witsit would come out with, talking about frameworks. No, science is a method, just for Dr. Shiva and indeed my audience at large. The method of science is as follows. Step 1, observe natural phenomena. That is something occurring in the physical and natural world that you want to know what caused it. Step 2, suppose a cause for the phenomena you observed at step 1. Now, ipso facto, when you do that, you have, by default, formulated a hypothesis. Because step 1, observe a dependent variable. The phenomena is a variable. It's something occurring, something's happening, something's varying. And you want to know why it's varying. So you suppose the thing that you think will cause it to vary, that's your independent variable. So at the end of suppositional causal influence are being supposed, you have both independent variable, supposed cause, and dependent variable, effect being studied. That is a hypothesis. It's a if and then statement. If causal influencer, that's independent variable, then dependent variable, phenomena being studied. Alongside it, you've got a null. That's to say, the antithesis of your prediction. If independent variable, that's suppositional causal influencer, is varied, then the dependent variable won't happen. Zero difference. That's called a null hypothesis. Both can't be true. You can't both cause something to happen and not cause it to happen at the same time. Only one outcome will happen. When you, step 3, do an experiment that vary your supposed causal influencer, your independent variable. You vary it to see if it causes the thing you're studying or not. And if it does, you put a tick next to that prediction. If A, then B, tick. Because if A,
The framework's not
you varied A, then B, the phenomena you're studying happened. You caused it to happen when you varied A. You validated your prediction. That's a successful scientific experiment. Alternatively, you can validate the null, the zero difference result. You vary A and absolutely nothing happens. Tick. Your scientific prediction that A would not cause B, that's a zero difference result prediction, was validated, proven. It didn't cause it then. Now, this is why the method is empirical. Step 1, observe phenomena. Step 2, formulate scientific prediction, otherwise known as hypothesis. Step 3, actualize prediction by varying supposed cause to see if it causes the effect. That is science. Neither of these two numpties on screen have the slightest idea about that process. What this guy's actually doing, and it's clear to everybody listening now, is he's trying to lead Dave down a ham-handed segue of a path to TFE. That's what he's actually doing, and he's trying to lead with Will Duffy's charlatan fraud use of the word experiment, and shoehorn it into a method that he's just bullshitted about and made up to lead Dave in with. Well done, Dr. Bullshit.
true. First, in biological and engineering systems, you manipulate a system of some kind.
Right, engineering is man-made. It sits absolutely without question outside the realms of natural science. When I said earlier, step 1, observe natural phenomena. When it comes to engineering, you already know the cause. I wonder what caused that. Insert word about a bridge's behaviour. Well, a man made the bridge. Oh, he didn't make it very well. Yeah, that's still a man making it, though, isn't it? It's not a naturally occurring phenomenon, therefore sits outside the realms of science. You're trying to figure out what caused things in nature. You don't study what man makes because you know what caused it. A man made it. But this guy's bundling engineering into science, isn't he? Yeah, he's a charlatan and he doesn't know what science is. Engineering definitely isn't science.
Then you measure.
That sounds a bit like, what's that word that goes along with measuring stuff? Oh, maths.
The data from that system. And then you mine that data.
So, like gathering up my blancmange data. I mine that data, do I? I gather it all together in a nice format, and then I call that a model, do I? Hey, Brian, we're covering the video you sent me.
That doctor guy, he is the problem we have in the world. People like him and Dave, they are the problem with the world.
I absolutely agree. It's a couple of charlatans talking to each other that neither of them know what they're talking about. One has got the pompous arrogance to feel like he does, though. This one. The other, he knows he's a bullshitter. Dave does. In this particular scenario, he just doesn't realise the guy talking to him is a bigger bullshitter than he is. Dave doesn't realise that.
Yeah, that doctor guy, he only actually gets worse from there, Nathan. The level of BS gets worse. The BS meter goes through the roof. And what you notice about that doctor guy is, as this goes on, he's terror of anything. He keeps on looking for talking about data and different things. But when Dave wants to actually present that to him, he wants nothing to do with it. Because he wants to do exactly, I was exactly the same thing I had in my head as you just said a minute ago. He wants to shoehorn in some BS mock, not an experiment that's not an experiment, just like Will Duffy did, and come up. He's going to start off with some globe pre-assumption. He's going to add a little globe stuff and come up with a globe, because that's all that guy is capable of doing.
And then you model it. It's called the 4 M's.
Okay.
So manipulate, measure, mine, and model.
What the bloody hell is this? It's called the 3 B's. Bullshit, bravado, and more bullshit.
If the model matches your hypothesis, you continue. If it doesn't, you have to throw away your hypothesis.
Okay, so my hypothesis, Earth is a blancmange. We went around, we gathered up all the data by scraping the surface of Earth for all the ingredients for blancmange. And we confirmed it. So I keep my hypothesis confirmed. Earth is a blancmange by this standard. It's the 4 M's. Obviously.
It's false. It doesn't matter whether you're wearing a red hat, a blue hat, doesn't matter how wealthy you are.
That's right, that's correct. It doesn't matter if you're wearing a blue pair of trousers or a green pair of trousers. Once you've scraped up all that data and put it into the chart and turned it into what we are now going to call a model, and now I say Earth matches the model. Here's my blancmange model. Here's what I got from Earth. They match.
It doesn't matter if you're good looking or not. You're just fucking wrong.
Yep.
So, I
got one for you. I have one for you. An example.
No, but wait. Do you agree this is a scientific?
Yeah, 100%.
No, Dave. No, you haven't got a clue what the scientific method is. You told him something completely different earlier. He's contradicted you. And now you're agreeing with him in contradiction to what you said incorrectly earlier. So which one should we take as read, Dave? The one that you babbled off incorrectly and were challenged with and have now comported to his nonsense. So, yes, you're more confident in your bullshit and you're called a doctor. So, yes. Your bullshit version's the right one. Not my bullshit version from earlier. I concede to your more superior bullshit, doctor.
Yep.
Okay. So now if someone says the Earth is round.
Again,
sorry, I'm just Dave is going along to get along. He's going, yeah, and he's then going to try and put in what he wants to put in, but he never gets the chance. Your man just doesn't give him an opportunity. Every time Dave just goes, yeah, okay, I'm agreeing with all that. So now you will allow me to say something and do something, and then your man, as soon as Dave starts saying something or doing something, your man goes, anyway, never mind all that. I have data to collect, blah blah blah. And Dave never gets that. So he agreed to a load of things for nothing.
Yeah. Agree to a load of stuff that's wrong so that you can get a word in and then achieve nothing.
Okay.
Yep.
Or someone says the Earth is flat. They have to propose an experiment.
No, flat is an aspect that can be measured. And it is measured. So that's all I need to present. Earth as a flat plane being measured as a flat plane. That's it. Once I present that, that's it. Experiment, you're in a category error.
Let's do it.
That everyone agrees to. Okay.
I got it.
And then they go. So before we go there was a recent experiment that was done in Antarctica, right?
No, there was not. They made quite a few measurements of a flat Earth in Antarctica. That's what they actually did. When we looked at the data, going along with your charlatan version of science, it was all flat, Dr. Shiva. All of their measurements, they weren't science. We've already called Duffy a fraud for this. Now, if you're going to bolster this as being science when it definitely doesn't follow the method, I'm just going to say you're complicit. You're a fraud too.
It was not an experiment.
Are you trying to get something in?
One second, Nathan.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I stepped on you a second ago because I thought you were finished what you were saying. What this guy is doing is what the ballers always do. They drone on and on and on with all, I don't care if they're a PhD or some random idiot on YouTube. They drone on and on and on with the same malarkey and BS. And then they try and build an agreement ladder. Right? And before you know it, you've signed a contract that goes along with their BS. That's what this guy is doing now. So do you agree with this complete heap of rubbish that I don't know what I'm talking about, that I just proposed there a minute ago? Do you agree with that? Do you know what I mean? Because that way they build an agreement ladder, and before you know it, you're agreeing to something that has no relevance to anything, and it's only going to end up with them begging the question and proving their own point by, inserting their own data and getting their own data back. That's all it's going to be.
Yeah, Dave's not even listening to him. He doesn't know what's going on. He should have spotted about 5 questions ago that this was leading to TFE. Like when I spotted it. I haven't watched this, by the way.
Experiment. It was an observation of a light in the sky under very sketchy circumstances. Let me show you an experiment.
But that too. But Dave, that is an experiment because
it's not.
It is an experiment.
Yeah, you don't get to tell him it's not, Dave. You agreed with him defining what science was in the face of you not knowing. Now, this pisses me off royally, given that I attempted to educate your dumbass on what science actually was, and you shut me down in favour of telling me how many app sales you got. Yeah? You're a scumbag, you're a charlatan, you're only interested in app sales, telling me how big your boat is. Rather than learning, when I took my time out of my day, not for profit, yeah, to educate you. Not so I could better feed my kids and pay my mortgage, so that you wouldn't be in this embarrassing position where this guy's handing you your ass with utter garbage that's wrong. And you don't know what to do. All you can do is agree with him. So don't tell him it's not an experiment. You mean because I can use those words to great effect when I shut people down? You don't know what these words mean. You have just demonstrated to him that you don't know what science is. You've agreed with his crap. So you're not in a position to say no, Dave. I am, because I know what science is. I attempted to educate you with it, didn't I, Dave? No. How big your boat is and how much sunbathing you and Whitsit are doing together was what you told me about. Didn't you, Dave?
Is where
I knew. Sorry, just 1 second, Nathan. I won't keep on holding it up, but I knew this would infuriate you because if Dave had actually paid attention instead of being an arrogant idiot, right? If he paid attention to what you were trying to promote, what you were trying to teach him, and get across to him, he would have annihilated this guy and took him apart. But instead, he had to go along with some BS global agreement ladder to try and get a word in. And then every time he was allowed to get a word in, he wasn't allowed to get a second word in. You'll hear it as it goes on. So that's what you get. You get an agreement ladder. You either know what you're talking about or you end up in an agreement ladder.
Yeah, because he can't challenge him. Dave doesn't have a leg to stand on here. He's just said, no, it's not an experiment. Dave doesn't know why it's not an experiment. That's the problem. And this is exactly why I approached Dave all those years ago, repeatedly, trying to educate him on science. Same reason I approached Jaron. Same reason Whitsit was approached by QE. Same reason I approached Bob. This is the problem here. Dave's here, it seems, to tell people about how Earth's not a ball, with lots of ball talk, and then when push comes to shove, it could be a really big ball, end quote, Dave. Now, when it comes to stuff that doesn't sit in line with their grift, that also, like this doctor, uses the words of science to peddle inertial planes and incoherent dielectric planes and ether. Dave's already peddled it. He put it right at the start. Again, see the pre-show if you want to see the first few minutes of the video. But Dave's only interested in his bleeding ether grift. Giving people a new bullshit story to replace the old bullshit story that he goes to great lengths to insert bits of their narrative in. Earlier, he was telling you about how the balloon should be 1,000 miles this way because Earth's turning underneath it. Oh, really? Why are we reinforcing globe narratives and globe stories about what things should happen? Why? Only for Dave to then come to the actual point, the nitty-gritty, where he's talking to somebody who's in seeming authority with the title of doctor about science, and he comes to challenge the guy and say, no, this very devastating, destroying my app grift observation in Antarctica isn't an experiment, says Dave. How the hell would you know?
Mm-hmm.
Even how you propose to observe data is an experiment, okay? You're saying, I'm going to do this.
See, Dave, you should be saying no. But you don't know, do you? You haven't got a clue what he's just said to you and how wrong it is. You don't know what science isn't either, do you, Dave? You pathetic, grifting weasel. Why are you agreeing with him he's wrong? Are you just here to con flat earthers, Dave? Because according to this interview put on your own channel, You're agreeing with him when he tells you about the fraud and con that he's using and TFE's using. Why would you be agreeing with him? If you are subscribed to Flat Earth Dave Interviews channel, go and let him know that you are unsubscribing from him, because he's lying to you. He's a con man. He's a grifter. He's only here to squeeze app money out of you with crap instead of, that's in place of, Flat Earth Society crap that Dave demeans. He'll take $5 off you for it. Flat Earth Society will give you their crap for free. Dave will charge you for it, while simultaneously agreeing with Globe numpties about what science isn't. What a con man. You've just agreed with him. Now, but for the fact that I attempted to educate this idiot, who looks incredibly old and haggard now, let's be honest. Dave looks like an old turd that's just come down the bottom end of the U-bend, nodding along with this charlatan about what science isn't. Just go away, Dave. You're not doing a good job. And you're an old dog that can't learn new tricks. I've tried to teach you them, haven't I? I attempted to educate Dave on this shit, and he was just gonna tell me about the money he grifted from you lot, the audience. Yeah? Talking to you, the audience, when I say this. He's grifted every one of you for your $5 for his app. He's just conned you with nonsensical garbage, and rather than spending the time to actually learn decent flat earth arguments from people like me, he spent the time showing me all the sales he made. Doesn't need to know about science so that this man can con you with what isn't science. And Dave will agree. So definitely go along to his channel and let him know. No, this is the last straw, Dave. Why are you agreeing with Globeheads about what science isn't? You total scammer. You fraud. Why are you lying to us about what science isn't? It's outrageous. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of having these frauds and grifters in our flat earth community telling you, oh, yeah. Deciding that if Earth's a sphere is part of the hypothesis, yes. Nod, Dave. Because all Dave wants to do in his mind is get to the point where he tells you to buy his app. That's all this is. Just one big build-up for buy my app. Because he's not disagreeing with the con man on the left-hand side of the page when he tells him what science is incorrectly. Dave agrees. You don't need people like Dave in your life. He's only here to get $5 out of you. That's all he sees when he talks to you. Will you give me $5 for my app? That's all he cares about.
This and this. I'm going to collect this data, and then I'm going to do this, and this to mine.
Okay, now let's give the audience some actual flat earth facts. Given that this guy's talking about actually collecting data, right? Okay, no worries. What was the data they collected down in Antarctica? Down being the antipodal assumption they need to make you think that it's going to be proving something when they go to the bottom of a ball by antipodal assumption by saying down. But what are the data points they actually gathered? Oh, they gathered quite a few flat earth elevation angle measurements, didn't they? Yeah? How high the sun was above the horizon with an angle that needed a flat plane. So here's me, an actual, genuine flat earther, telling you in no uncertain terms what they got in the south, in Antarctica, in the form of flat earth measurements. Now, you don't need to give me $5. I mean, if you want to say thank you in the comments, that'd be absolutely wonderful. But you don't need to give me a damn thing. Dave, on the other hand, will let this charlatan lie to you about what science isn't, just so he can get to the bit in the interview where he tells you to give you $5 for his app. That's his only motivation. I'll tell you how Earth's measured flat. Dave will nod along in an agreement ladder till he gets to the point he can flog you his bleeding app.
Find that data to model it. Right. So I haven't even looked into the math of this or any of this.
Well, good job I did. I told my audience in advance of you telling them that you haven't done the slightest bit of research before having this clown on your show. Because this is going out on your channel too, right, Dr. Shiva? Yeah? You didn't do any research. Good job I told you about the data points that they got in Antarctica. They're all flat earth proofs. Every single measurement they took, without exception, from the moment they started presenting them. Literally live, I was there to say you'll need a flat earth when you level your scale. The very first measurement they presented. They claimed it was proving gravitational forces. Idiots, out of date by 110 years. Meanwhile, they're leveling their tools to a plane of reference. They'll need a flat earth for their evidence that they're presenting. For their data points, Earth must be flat. That's what I give to my audience. Yeah? What's Dave giving you thus far? Earth's supposed to turn under the balloon 1,000 miles. Check it out. I'm getting super chats. I'm actually getting money out of people. Please don't call me a con man. A shout out to Chubicarus. He says, thank you, Nathan. Well, thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate the support.
1 second, Nathan.
Go ahead.
What will become very apparent with this guide is that he's actually so out of date that he's actually pre-1800s when it comes to this topic. You'll see what I mean.
Yes, 110 years out of date, correct. Carry on.
No, he's more than that. When it comes to this topic, this guy, like, what he starts proposing is what Samuel Rowbottom proposed back in the 1800s. Without that, speaking about that, he thinks that he has some information or some wisdom or education, and he's going to start at the start as if nobody ever thought of that. You know what I mean? This fella is so far up his own ass. It's unbelievable.
I have 4 engineering degrees, right? And this is what we do. Engineers can't lie like scientists can.
Right, science is an empirical method of establishing cause of effect when varying a presumed cause of the effect you observe in step 1 that you didn't detail, to see if it does or doesn't cause the effect. The method is empirical. You say scientists lie. Yeah, you're talking about that very method of lying with the charlatan terms and creating ideas like flat plane versus globe and calling it a hypothesis. That's you! Me, I'm detailing a method that's empirical. You vary A to see if it causes B. Now, your prediction is A will cause B. Alternative hypothesis. And A won't cause B. That's a null hypothesis. Zero difference result prediction. Now, only one of those two outcomes can be the case when you do an experiment. You vary A, it either does or does not cause B. Now, when it doesn't cause B, you put a tick next to that prediction. A will not cause B. Until you varied A, you didn't know. It was a prediction, A won't cause B. You varied A, it didn't cause B. You've validated that prediction. That's science. Now, obviously, you don't test for the null. Nobody's trying to cause something not to happen. You want to induce the effect you studies at step 1. That's the whole point. You want the alternative prediction, the alternative hypothesis, to be correct. When you vary A, B will happen, is what you want to occur when you do an experiment. But what do you mean men lie? It's got nothing to do, it's taken out of it. It's a process of validating the cause of an effect. That's what natural science is. It's got subtle to do with men. It's got subtle to do with engineering, unless it's part of the apparatus. It's just nonsensical drivel coming out of a guy who's going on about his degrees in engineering. Like he's a scientist. You're not. You want to be. And the reason you want to be is because you know somewhere deep down that science is an empirical method. And you want part of that. Because it gives you a reason to be so friggin' pompous and sound like, oh, I absolutely must know what I'm talking about. I've got several degrees, you know. Really? You'd think you'd know what science is then. You don't.
Engineers have to build stuff that works.
Go ahead, Brian.
Very quick. If he's an engineer, then he surely, depends on what kind of engineering he was doing. But if he was doing anything structural, then surely, especially if it involves roads or anything like that, surely a question to ask him at that point would be, so have you ever accounted for the curve of a globe Earth and all these measurements? Have you ever measured a globe? What measurements have you got to produce? What's he going to produce? Flat measurements based off a flat plane.
Yeah, every single time. Like the ones I went through with the audience at the point that would have been appropriate for Dave. Instead, he's nodding along with this pseudoscience spewing garbage. He's just waiting to get to his opportunity to flog his app, of course.
Yep. And so we have to live with the reality of natural laws. Otherwise, you can say all the shit you want, but if something you build doesn't work, it falls out of the sky.
Right.
So if you go to the experiment.
He just included 3 different categories. Natural science is the overarching claim that he's talking about, or pretending to. Then he talked about natural laws. That's descriptions of things that occur in nature always. Then he described things falling out of the sky, inferring things like aeroplanes, of course, because he's an engineer, which is where he began. So that's 3 completely separate categories: engineering, laws of nature, and science and the scientific method.
That was done.
He's probably sorry.
Ed?
Just say, I have a sneaky suspicion, can't read his mind, that when he's talking about natural laws, he's not saying the word gravity, but that's what's in his head.
Probably. They're going to hijack that as well.
And I believe some non-flat earther and a flat earther was involved in that. Can you describe what they agreed to do?
Well, I'd rather talk about the shape of the Earth than.
Well, you haven't done that so far, Dave. Yeah, you definitely haven't done that. You're about 11 minutes into the interview. You haven't mentioned Earth being flat in terms of it being measured that way as an aspect that you can prove. All you've done thus far as I can remember, is talked about what Earth should be doing as a spinning ball and how things should be 1,000 miles an hour away, or whatever it is that you spewed in regards to globe Earth rhetoric thus far. Because that's what you've done. And you told us how Owen Benjamin knows Earth's not a ball.
And the lights in the sky that nobody knows what they are or how far they are.
No, but so, just to
is it me, or is it previous to this in the first 5 minutes, or was that a clip that he's going to play later? He told us this sun was local, and he's got an app that professes it to be that way.
Okay, people. Some guy agreed to do this experiment with this guy, right?
No, they did not. No one agreed to do an experiment. They agreed to go make an observation of the sky and see what it told us.
Right, but that's an experiment, Dave.
Well, it's not, because the lights in the sky do not dictate the shape of the floor.
Right, what's that got to do with it not being an experiment, though? That's a non sequitur response, Dave, that highlights your ignorance in this subject. It's a shame you couldn't sit down and pay attention long enough while I took time out of my day to have your ear to educate you on this stuff, and you rejected it, didn't you, Dave? No, shut it down and told me about how many apps you'd sold and how much time you enjoyed spending on your boat. Didn't you, Dave? You didn't want to be educated and take the time out of your day to listen to an education in this stuff so that this moment can come where you are shown to be a fraud, a charlatan, Dave. Because that non sequitur response, there's an observed phenomena here, Dave. This is absolutely within the realms of science, but you're decrying it because the lights in the sky don't explain the ground. And yet here we are with celestial navigation and the elevation angle measurements that are utilised to create the globe being this man on your left's basis for his globe faith. You don't know any of this stuff, but you're more than happy to deny the lights in the sky. They're fundamental to us expanding the known territories. Did you know that? They wouldn't have got down to Antarctica if we haven't observed the lights in the sky and their geographical positions. You're all the more happy to throw the baby out with the bathwater just because it's making you look stupid with your charlatan app that was wrong, that made all of the people who bought it look silly. Shout out for the super chat.
Nathan. Sorry.
You're good?
No, go super chat first. I'll go after.
Okay. Is everyone in this chat a broke? What does that mean? Is everyone in this chat a broke? Yeah, okay. Where are the super chats? Did you give GEI Earth, Dave? Consider changing your live streams 5 p.m. everywhere in America so people with jobs can watch live. I try and actually... Thank you, Dylan, for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. And yeah, you're asking... Your sentiment I picked up on, right, is to say, have you people given Dave super chats for this crap? Divert your cash to me. Well, I'm glad you're saying it rather than me, because it seems very scummy if I do that. But yeah, I appreciate your sentiment. On the other hand, Dave's still here. I'm more annoyed about this, not because I want Dave's money, not because I want super chats to be directed from Dave to me. More power to him if he's making money from super chats, or even his app, right, for that matter. That isn't really my issue, so I'll just be honest and explain what my actual issue is, right? My issue is Dave is in front of this guy. Right now, this is new, right? This came out 16 hours ago, yeah? This is brand new, right up to date. And he's still doing it. He's making these mistakes in the face of me attempting to educate Dave to a high standard on what science is so that he could rip this guy a new one and say, no. And when asked what's the scientific method, his answer wouldn't be, well, you tell me. You tell me. Is your opponent? What about I tell you, Dave, I'm on your side? But you didn't want to listen when it was me telling you. But you're asking your opponent to tell you. Oh, yeah, following in the footsteps of Jerem much. You tell me, McToon, how this works on a ball. Yeah? Why is your opponent educating you in science, Dave? And you're rejecting the flat earth education in it. Very shilly. Yeah? Now, I can say that tongue-in-cheek. But my actual annoyance is that I just want Dave to be doing a good job here. It's what I've said all along. And I get people like Neil, why are you going to Jaren? Why do you keep beating a flogging dead horse? I don't get it. Well, this is why. So when they have these moments, when they're in front of Dr. Whoever, they don't have their ass handed to them and they don't make us look bad by reflection, whether I like it or not. This guy's going by the name Flat Earth Dave, isn't he? Whether I not like this or not, he's making us look bleeding awful. And I don't want that. So what do I try and resolve that for? How can I get around that? You can hear the frustration in my voice, me stuttering around my words. Because this is something I'm actually passionate about. When it's people on my own side, there's no good reason why I shouldn't have had the opportunity from this man to educate him on this subject. Now, why didn't he want me to educate him on this subject? Because it affects Bob Nodell, past tense, Jaren Whitsitt, current tense, in their ether grift. They've got the Michelson-Morley experiment, haven't they? Now, me pointing out what science actually is balls up their grift. Dave's got his app grift, and incorporated into it, he's already said to this man that Earth's in a, what did he call it, an etheric plane? So Dave's got a science grift of his own. So it doesn't serve his interests to learn what science is. He's better off having his ass handed to him by a different type of grifter, this one, than knowing what it really is. So hence, when I tried to educate him on it, he shut me down, told me how good his boat was, and how much money he's making from app sales, and how much more popular he is. Didn't want to sit down and have the education, but here we are, and it pisses me off, him telling this man, who's also a charlatan, you tell me what science is, while we're in a circumstance that's consequential to other flatties. Me. Yeah, now I've tried to remedy this in advance. I've had the forethought to see that this could happen and tried to remedy it with Dave personally. I've taken time out of my day to educate this man on this so that this doesn't happen. So it really, really breaks my heart.
Like, look up at the lights in your ceiling and tell me if they tell you what shape your floor.
Yes, sorry to get emotional, but that's how I feel. It's not often you'll hear this sort of tone from my voice. A slight quiver in my voice as I sound genuinely and sincerely upset. I am. Same applies when it's Jaren. I'm sorry to steal your thunder, Brian. Go ahead.
No, you're okay, because it's along the lines of what I was going to say, actually. What I was going to say is there's so many people just on Discord, flat earthers on 24/7 and politics servers, stuff like that, who could take out this guy with ease. You send in Flatsy. Flatsy would annihilate this guy just on her own, right? Now, that's because they've learned, right? They don't have apps. They're not getting $5 a go for apps or whatever else, right? They don't have boats, but they do have the information. But Dave puts himself in front of people like this, or he's gradually be heading that way, right? And as you said, he tried to defend Bob Nodell and whatever he was promoting, and Jaren and Whitsitt and whatever they were promoting by not learning about scientific methods. Just that one topic that everyone on Discord knows. So any one of them could have taken this guy apart, could have rightly so called the guy a fraud to his face there and then. I would have called him a fraud within the first minute if he tried to argue against me. Do you know what I mean? But Dave puts himself in that position. It's like jumping into it. He wants to be in the Monaco Grand Prix, right? But he's not much of a driver. So why are you doing? Trying to jump into the car. You've no business being there.
Flores. Here's an experiment. Let me show you an experiment.
Let's not talk, Dave. Let's not talk analogies, because analogies in science don't work.
So I got you. So let me show you an experiment right here. If something doesn't curve, then it's what?
Then it's describing something curving or not, and it's not an experiment. Yet you've just segued into charlatanism by saying, now I've got a different experiment. And this is it, isn't it? I haven't watched this, so I didn't know preemptively that was what's going to happen. but I suggested that Dave's got an etheric grift to punt. But no, he's just using a different version of the same thing. He's called this an experiment. You're a fraud. You know better than Duffy. Duffy's calling stuff random experiments when they're not. So's Dave. How are they any different? I'm not being rhetorical. How is that any different? What Dave's just done in the last 10 seconds is no different to Duffy's fraud. I've got an experiment for you. If there's no curve here, it's not an experiment. That's fraud. Straight up fraud from Dave. Isn't it?
Yes, unfortunately it is. Because what he's doing is no different than what Duffy did or this guy is trying to do. Same thing.
It just breaks my heart.
What do you mean? If something does not curve, then it's flat.
Well, you have to define what curvature
if something
is first.
has no curvature, then it's flat. Okay?
No, Dave, we heard you the first 3 times. The guy's response was, you'll have to define what you mean by curvature. And what I read between the lines mean is you'll have to actually formulate that into an example that makes coherent sense and then draw a conclusion after defying that which you suppose and then haven't overcome in any way, shape or form, but have labelled an experiment as a fraud.
Here is a lake, right? And we got a camera on a frozen lake. So large bodies of water at rest lie flat.
I can't make out. No, Dave, stop. I don't know what you're showing me here.
I'm going to show you. You have to give me time to show you.
No. But what I'm saying is, I haven't seen this experiment you're showing me.
But
it's not an experiment. So I haven't seen it, so I'm not going to allow you to show it. I mean, your scummy behaviour is just going to be scummy behaviour, typical ball-head behaviour. Well, I haven't seen this. So let me get it straight. If I was to stick my head in the sand and have never seen the final experiment, I could just point my finger at you. I've never seen this. And then hand wave it. What a scumbag.
I'm going to show you, and then you can verify everything, right? And there's tons of videos, so you don't have to go and do it yourself, but you can go do it yourself.
Well, what I'm saying, Dave, time out. Okay, we agree on a scientific method. Okay.
Yeah, you did, didn't you, Dave? You agreed with his charlatan, nonsensical bullshit version of the scientific method after you defined what it was incorrectly. You agreed with him. That's right, Dave. So you're going to be dragged along like a bitch now by this man. Okay, Dave? With science. Just bearing in mind, I attempted to educate Dave in this subject so he didn't make you, the audience, by reflection, look like complete clowns with this man being dragged around like a bitch with a little tissue out of the back pocket. Because that's what this man's about to do with Dave. Rightfully so. I mean, it's not right. This man doesn't know what science is either. He's a complete fraud. He's just got more balls on him than Dave. Like more confidence. That's all it is.
Look, you've done this with a lot of people. That's great.
Yeah, just come here, Dave. Yeah, turn your pockets out so I can drag you around by them.
Great, okay?
Okay, Dave, yeah. Let's stop having you bullshitting and let's have me bullshitting for a bit. My name's Dr. Shiva. Give me your pocket, you're going to be dragged around the courtyard.
I want you to sort of just clean the slate, okay? And just think in a very clean...
Look, Dave, I can be a friend to you with science, okay, son? Okay? Yeah, you look at your shoes, son.
Anyway, you're talking to an engineer.
Yeah, you're talking to somebody who's in charge, Dave, okay? You agreed what science was, son. Yeah? You asked me, like a favour, to tell you. Yeah, I was a friend and told you, didn't I, Dave?
Who actually has to build stuff and who knows.
Now, I've got to do shit in this world, Dave. You are his bitch now, Dave. Do you understand? Now, the reason I'm hated is because I make men like this my bitch, don't I? And they absolutely despise me for it. Now, I could have given you that skill, Dave, but you were more interested in your scheming and your grifting and your bank balance and your bottom line. Now, me, I have to absolutely scrape by. Now, I'm in 2 minds whether or not it's about telling people about my latest purchase that was about $100. I got Adam running around to get secondhand from Facebook. And literally thinking about it, every dime I get goes on things for the show. In the last 10 years, everything, and I mean everything, has been geared towards the show. If I get a spare dime, I'll buy an acoustic panel or a cable or a camera. If I need something that's broken, I'll do a GoFundMe for it. So every dime I have is dedicated not to going on nice holidays or buying a new car or, heaven forbid, a frickin' boat, but on keeping the show going so I can actually pass on some of the information that I've passed on to my audience here today. In the face of this crap, overcoming this crap, yeah, with actual, here's how Earth's measured, flat Earth elevation angle measurements came from Antarctica. You had that here today. So if you were new, you'd know Earth was measured flat and how, and who gave you the measurements to go and ask them about them. Antarctica, elevation angle measurements, sun above the horizon, flat Earth angles. There you go. You've got everything you could possibly want. I have to scrape by, and any pennies that I do get extra go on the show. More recently than anything, things like a microphone. Now, that's outside of keeping the freaking crap old 25-year-old car on the road and not killing me and my kids while I'm in it. Yeah? Dave, on the other hand, has grifted his way to funding his freaking boat and having Witsit sunbathing on it. Yeah? What an absolute outrage! Why is this man being dragged around by his pocket by this con man? Why is Dave now this man's bitch? Why? I'll tell you why. Because he was more interested in bragging about his boat and his abseils when I was trying to teach him about science. The very thing he's being dragged around by his short hairs by. You couldn't make it up. Now, my anger is actually upset. Shout out to Jardo. Here, Nathan, fix something that's broken. Like the globe. Yeah. Someone sent it to me the other day. I was explaining how I've been very frugal by taking the tyres and wheels off the car that I've got currently so that I can put them on eBay to raise money for them so I can churn a new set of tyres and wheels because one of them's broken and lets air out. It's got a slow puncture no matter what tyre goes on it. The wheel seems to be knackered. In any event, I've had to do a whole load of running around, including a 200-mile round trip to Sheffield to buy second-hand wheels so that I don't have to repair one that's already on the car. Now, that faff has taken days and days and days to end up spending maybe 500 quid on new tyres, basically, is the bottom line. Now, while I'm doing all that crap, scraping by, I watch Dave the fricking charlatan talk about his boat and his abseils, while he lies through his back teeth, leads a whole bunch of people on a merry path of azimuthal equidistant projections and local suns that get debunked by this crap that he's trying to hand wave. On a path that he's been led down because he hasn't recognised the false dichotomy affirming the consequent that's being prepared by his opponent, who knows less about science than he does, but has taken an authoritative stance with Dave while he drags him around by the pocket. This is an absolute outrage of a circumstance to be in. I just feel it's unjust. It just feels so unfair. Shout out another Jardo super chat. So I just shout out the super chat and then go, because I'm sure there's worse people off than me. I shouldn't moan. Stay tuned for membership, peeps. Thank you for the super chat, Jardo. Go ahead, Brian.
I think a big difference between the likes of Dave and Witsit is that they're worried about how they come across to the audience that's listening, that guy's audience, whatever else. We're not worried about that. You're not worried about that. You're just going to state what you know to be true, end of story. You're not going to listen to any of this guy's BS. You're not going to tolerate any of his illogical nonsense. It's just not going to happen. And you call him a fraud if he proves himself to be a fraud. End of story. You don't care who's listening. And that's the difference. Dave is pandering to an audience because he's trying to keep himself popular or whatever else. That he just, you know what I mean, stating the facts. He's not doing that. He's not being Montalone then. He wants to just go along with some grift and, pander to an audience. Always come out with a neutral outcome. As opposed to just state the facts. And that's the difference.
Right, a couple of shout-outs. So shout out to Jardo, who's gifted a load of memberships, and obviously while I'm reading out the next super chat, a whole bunch of people will be picking up those free memberships. So thank you very much indeed, Jardo. And if you become a member, check out the members-only live stream, or whatever you call it, Uncut and After Show, as that will have the first 10 minutes of us critiquing Dave and Dr. Shiva. So we did do 5 or 6 minutes before we started live. Also, Tuberticus, thank you very much for the 200 Australian dollars. Wow, really appreciate the support. Big spender. He says, make an app and get some guns. They're not legal here. Where are they in the UK? Nowhere to be found. We're not allowed them. But Thank you so much for the super chat and big spender, big generosity. Thank you very much indeed. I had it up on screen actually. Accidentally took it off. Must have pressed the button twice. There we go. Moving on.
Laws. Okay,
Right.
I do. All right. So you have, let's take a clean sheet of paper. We agree on the scientific method. Okay.
Yep. So let me show you.
Yeah. Yep. Now let me move on to something that isn't the scientific method, so I'm not embarrassed for a second time, is Dave exposing just how ignorant he is of this subject I attempted to educate him in. Just bearing in mind, from the audience's perspective, Dave's a poor representative because he refused the education that he needed in this circumstances from me.
My scientific experiment right here. Actual
Right. No, Dave, that makes you no better than Duffy. It means you're a fraud now. You're claiming science when you don't have any empirical adherence to the method I detailed earlier. Neither of you detailed it. Neither does Duffy. You're all frauds.
measurements.
So first, your hypothesis is what in this?
See, step one wasn't detailed by Dr. Shiva, so the first thing he's asking is, where's your hypothesis? No. The first thing you do is observe a phenomena, Dr. Shiva. Something that you need to know what caused it. Like, you look at something happening and go, I wonder what caused that. That's what you do as step one. Observe a phenomena happening in nature. Dave's just got a picture of a map with 8 miles written on it. Yeah? Now me, what would I do in this circumstance, given that I'm scraping by with my flat earth proofs? I'd point at the number 8 and the word miles and say that is a linear distance only possible on a flat plane. Then I'd point out the scale on the map and say that is a flat scale. Then I'd point out that the map is flat and say these are all flat Earth prerequisites and proofs of Earth being measured and utilised as a flat plane with flat distances. So, before we've done anything, Dave's talking about something that contains 5 flat Earth proofs, and he's repackaged it as a fraudulent pseudoscience. Give that man a boat and no worries in life. While I scrape by trying to pay for tyres. Life's not fair. It just isn't. Shout out to Theophilus. Here's another dime for you. Love the show. Ephesians 2, verse 8 through 9, and 1 Corinthians 15, verse 1 through 3. I am not a biblical scholar, so I don't know what they are to even try. Anybody on the panel know what they are? No, clearly not. I'm sure somebody will look it up. Thank you very much for your generosity, though. I really appreciate the support. I'm sorry I can't back your sentiment in terms of your biblical verses. I just don't have the acumen. My bad. But again, thanks for the super chat.
Hypothesis is if the Earth is a globe at the size that they tell us, it has a...
Right. If Earth is a globe, Dave, you said earlier in your bullshit version of science that was wrong, the word variable, didn't you, Dave? Yeah? I think you used independent variable and, quote, fixed variable, end quote, dickhead, charlatan, fraud, grifter, Dave. Yeah, so fixed, is this a fixed variable, Dave? If Earth is a globe, what kind of variable is that? Can you vary this, you shithead? Lying grifter scammer? Doesn't sound like you're going to be varying Earth being a fucking globe, Dave. Yeah, it just sounds like you're a con man. This isn't a variable, is it, Dave? No, it just sounds like you're a bullshitter and a con man and a scumbag. Why is it that the scumbag fraud con men end up with the boat and the honest people with the decent information get shoved to the bottom of the list and have to scrape by in life? Why does life work out that this con man ends up with a freaking boat off flat Earth? Why? How is life fair? He's a con man.
A curvature rate. We know what that rate is based.
Straight into talking
Wait a
about
second.
curvature rates. Flat Earth Dave could be a really big bald Dave is now going to start telling you about curvature rates and globe stuff. Yeah? leaving you with the fantasy of how it isn't a ball. Yeah, but you got lots of ball stuff and ball maths going around your head while he frauds you, calling it an experiment when it isn't. I'm sorry, Brian, go ahead.
Neil wants to say something as well. You go first, Neil.
Probably found the verses. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it isn't fair, but they're always going to, profit from this. We're not looking for a profit, but it will come because you are laying down truth. That cannot be mistaken.
No, I do want to profit. First and foremost, I'm a YouTuber. I'm here to make videos, right? Now, lo and behold, I've picked a subject that's censored algorithmically. Now, don't get me wrong, that's annoying. But I've got just as much passion for videography as I do for Flat Earth. That's the annoying part of it. That's why I get upset when I talk about my endeavours to educate Jaren, Bob, not Witsit, that was QE's task for whatever reason that fell on QE. But certainly Bob, certainly Jaren, certainly Dave. Go ahead.
You didn't hear what I said. Yeah, you are going to profit. But when you profit, it's going to be with truth. You'll see. It's coming.
Yeah, and I don't begrudge Dave as much as I say it tongue-in-cheek. Oh, yeah, unsubscribe. Oh, yeah, I'd have his super chats in a heartbeat. Whatever I've said. Don't mistake that for being sincere. I don't decry Dave's living. Good for you. Make as much money as you possibly can off apps. But do it with the right backing, with the right information, so that when you're out there flogging your apps, the people who give you $5 have at least got a decent grounding in what caused them to be conned onto a ball with science. It's like base one, day one stuff for Flat Earth Debate. And it's what I've attempted in person to go through with Dave. It's not like I'm saying this because we've responded to his videos like this. No. I mean, I've got a personal line to Dave and I've sat down with him talking to him personally, trying to educate this stuff, and he's rejected it.
Yeah, it's crazy because Dave, your app, the app itself, other than whatever safety issues, the app was fine. It did not need the UAE stuff. You still connected people to videos that algorithmically they would not have seen. Now, that's still useful. And if you were doing that, I still think you should get paid if you were found a way to get paid through your app, if you're doing something that is otherwise not easy to do. That's fine. But we hate all the other stuff that's not necessary, Dave.
No, it's outrageous. Why should he? You're like, oh, he should profit. It's like if it was in a hierarchical system, if it was Ford, and the guy that keeps coming up with ideas for Ford cars that cause car accidents keeps getting promoted, and the guy that's actually putting in the engineering that's keeping the cars selling, and the guy that's coming up with the advertising slogans and campaigns and videos that let people know that they need to buy these cars, so they do, they keep getting fired. But the guy who's causing problems and lawsuits left and right and delivering misinformation left and right and becoming influential in all the right places, but delivering all the wrong information to him, he keeps getting promoted and he's out on his frickin' boat. How is that fair?
Yeah, but Nathan, this kind of thing does often happen in life, where someone becomes a manager that has no business being a manager, or they move up in the managerial ranks. And what they're actually doing is getting there off the backs of the people underneath them who should be in that position. Now, what normally happens is they're found out, right? But unfortunately, we have to go through the process of the likes of Dave being found out and Witsit being found out publicly, not by us, but publicly by the public, and then maybe there's an opportunity or a chance after that. But at present, the public are going to be seeing David and Witsit. And that's all Dave Weiss and Witsit, and that's what they're going to see. Even though those two shouldn't be in that position. And it's not about begrudging the money. Well, I would begrudge Witsit money because he lies to his subscribers. But it's more about they're supposed to be representing a lot of other people besides just us, and they're doing a very poor job of it. Now, instead of learning about scientific method from you, Dave decided to be arrogant with you and tell you about his boat, And now here he is representing us with some guy called Doctor, who the general public will view as some authority figure. And this guy is telling Dave all about what science is and getting an agreement ladder going with Dave. And Dave is going, yes, 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 just to try and selfishly get his own point in, instead of not being selfish in the first place, learning about scientific method and being able to take apart these frauds like this Dr. Shiva, who, as I said, the average person on Discord could do.
Indeed. With that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow.
A freaking terrorist.
What?
In Eli's picture where he's Big Daddy flirts, he looks like one of them Muslims that get the, the full head covering on.
Are you going to do more of
screenshot?
Sorry, just ask that, Nathan. You're going to cover more of that video? There's a load more in it.
We can do. I was just going to make a live show thumbnail and get myself a drink and stuff. But yeah, we can come back to it, definitely.
No hassles. I would say the QE will end up doing that tonight instead of what he was going to do.
No, I'll keep it. It's gonna be going over though. The whole damn thing from Dr. Shiva numpty dipshit.
I was hoping for good things from Dr. Shiva. It started off so well and then went bad.
What's he a doctor of, by the way?
Huh?
What doctor? He's a doctor, so what's he a doctor of?
I don't know.
But then they're clowning and agreement laddering.
Oh, the official. I see. Started watching this. I see MIT PhD. Nah, that's intimidating. So, what's he a doctor in?
I don't know, but did you hear what he's proposing at the end of this? You'll hear it if you didn't.
No, I didn't hear any of that yet. That's good. That's not. I don't think that answered my question.
Well, I've watched it. You've watched some of it, I suppose. Nathan have heard, and everyone else here has heard some of it. I don't know if anyone here has watched all of it. I don't know what he's a doctor in. So I'm really talking for nothing here.
In about 5 minutes that I listened to this, it came out. And everyone whistled past the grave. You're not paying attention.
He said something about it was something to do connected to biochemistry, if I remember correctly.
I'll help you. He's an engineer.
I know he said engineer, but he brings up something to do with biochemistry a bit later, and that's why it threw me off.
Oh, really?
Yes. He brings up something a bit later. It's biochemistry. It's not natural science, but it's chemistry of some. You'll hear what I mean. I can't remember the full details, but he's not talking about engineering. So I'm wondering if he has a doctorate or whatever in something else that we're not aware of. That's why he didn't say engineering.
So look, Dr. Shiva numpty dipshit from Wiki. Damn, he's 24 days older than I am. Dr. Shiva is an Indian American engineer, not feathers, entrepreneur, and anti-vaccine activist. He has become known for promoting conspiracy theories, pseudoscience, and unfounded medical claims. But this is from Wiki, so take it with a grain of salt. He holds 4 degrees from MIT, biological engineering. That's not biochemistry.
What is biological engineering?
It's not biochemistry, I'll tell you that.
Okay, but that was the only term I could come up with that I could connect to it.
So field systems biology,
using tractors in agriculture.
Systems biology, computational and mathematical analysis and modeling of complex biological systems. Mathematical analysis, that's not biochemistry, dude. So
No, okay, I was wrong. I just
wait a
didn't know
second.
any. Yeah.
Wait a second. Scientific visualization is one of his scientific careers. What is he? What does he put on? Goggles?
Are they scientific goggles?
This dude's a clown, man.
But he speaks with such arrogance. He took care of Dave.
Hold on a second.
In my thumbnail, I've got Dave Weiss saying, could be a really big boat.
Oh, Dave Weiss comes out with another, it could be a really big ball type statement a bit later. He just does it in a bit more cloaked of a way. This is one of those things that early in it, I knew it would aggravate you, Nathan. But as it went on towards the end, it aggravated me. And he said this thing, and I was like, no, I shouted at the phone in the middle of the night. No, Dave, or this morning or something. No, Dave, that's not what we all agree on. You know what I mean? You'll hear it.
Yeah, it's because he stereotypes us with him. Oh, well, all flat earthers will, blah, 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 insert nonsense he hasn't studied here.
All right, this is a little bit more extensive. If you want to know this, we'll go through it quickly. Undergraduate degree in electrical engineering, computer science, master's degree in visual studies on scientific visualization. He completed another master's degree in mechanical engineering. He's an engineer. And obtained a PhD in biological engineering. So he's an engineer. Is engineering science?
No, I went through that on the show.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
Biological engineering, I don't know what that is.
I mean, I didn't know it was biological, but my example on the show is a bridge. I'm like, you wouldn't put a bridge through the scientific method because you already know what caused it. A man caused it.
His thesis, PhD thesis, was modeling the whole cell by integrating molecular pathway models. That's it.
Well, that makes sense to you and Adam, maybe. I don't know much about that.
Pathway models, yes, of course.
It's still engineering. It's not science. It's not even close. So, yeah, from the little bit that I listened to, like 3 minutes, yeah, he's getting the full treatment. Not this evening though. Got to finish up with McBooger Eater and Reg Pretenderick.
Well, we'll see what happens when you play on, Nathan. If you do, that is.
Theorem, and the best formula.
Right, but let's just stop right there. Which are you talking about? So there is the center of this circle. There's a
radius,
solid. There's mantle, and there's a solid mass, and there's an atmosphere around that. Right?
Yep.
The mass that.
Oh, really?
Why did you just agree? Why? I don't get it. I don't get it at all. The guy's just saying, listen, Dave, Earth's a really big ball, right? And Dave goes, yeah. Right? Big ball with a load of gas around it, right, Dave? Yeah. What's going on? You complete cuck. Grow a pair of balls. When man tells you Earth's a ball with a molten iron core, Dave, you do not look at your feet and go, yep. You go, no. Prove it. And then ask this man with his fingers in the air to prove the words he says. Oh, really? Do you want to demonstrate that molten iron core, clown shoes? Is what I'd reply to him with. What kind of assertion is that? Can you prove that, Dr. Shiva? You're just agreeing because you want to get to your app sales, don't you, Dave? So agree, get along to, what was it you said, Brian?
An agreement ladder.
No. You go along to get along or something like that.
Oh, yeah, he's going along to get along. Just so he can get to what he wants to do, yeah.
that you're talking about has various elevations around it.
Elevations? See, the moment he uses a trigger word, like elevation, with what? Respect to a surface level, described specifically on Earth with sea level references, yeah, you're going to need a flat Earth for that. But he's just described a spherical system that's got a core in the middle of it, and Dave Weiss agreed!
Sure.
As you traverse that.
Right. But if we go over water lies level, right?
Right, Dave, you just agreed with him that Earth's a sphere with a core. I just don't, it beggars belief.
The water does not curve, right? On a ball.
Just saying, your man saying there's a core and stuff, that's just him trying to red herring away from having to address the topic. Dave allows him, he does try, but basically allows him to red herring away from addressing the topic or having to look at anything and publicly make a statement about anything to do with flat Earth.
What you're saying, Dave would red herring away? Because this isn't a red herring from the Shiva guy. This is straight up begging the question fallacy. He's just telling him, accept the premise that Earth's a sphere in this discussion. And Dave is.
Yes, but when Dave was talking about the geometry, Dave said, yes, and a radius. Dave was trying to get him to the surface of his globe, and we're talking then about how much curve there would be over distance, blah, 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 right? But the man said, yeah, and there would be a mantle and the distance. And straight away, that's bringing Dave away from talking about the geometry. Because this guy is avoiding the geometry. He's avoiding, you hear it as it goes on. It gets worse and worse. This guy is avoiding having to see or make a statement or a decision about anything to do with reality. That's basically it.
Ball, they tell us that at the equator, it's 24,901 miles in circumference. So that would be a curvature rate of about 8 inches.
That would be his claim to make, Dave. Big Ball Dave at it again, telling you all about how Earth's a sphere and giving you sphere measurements and sphere radiuses and sphere radii, delineations of curve that isn't there after going through lots of ball stuff. I mean, my God, he's got 8 miles written behind him. Even the thing on screen is flat Earth prerequisite, and he's not mentioned it. He's going to talk about how Earth isn't a sphere and talk about sphere.
Inches per mile squared. That actually is in favor.
The water also has surface tension.
A small body, like a drop of water has surface tension, but a large body of water, anything over a gallon of water, will lie flat at rest, right? And that's fact.
No, I don't. No, I have to think about this.
Yeah. So
what? First thing he said that's true. Okay, yeah, water at rest is flat. Yeah. I mean, it's 10 years old and it's pretty died. It's pretty tired.
Did you hear the way the guy said, but the surface tension? He's looking for anything to just move away from having to deal with what's really going on out in real reality. Anything but to deal with the fact that water lays flat and level when at rest. He doesn't want to deal with the surface tension. I'd have to think about that. Anything would deal with it.
Saying it like,
yeah. So
wait, stop. Time out. I have to. You have to think about that because you have gravitational forces.
Sure.
Okay, which affect.
What? Sure. Oh, really? No, Dave. Even in their own rhetoric, they don't have gravitational forces. He's wrong about his own religion that you shouldn't be agreeing with. So you're doubly wrong because you're agreeing with him when he's a baller talking about baller concepts and you're agreeing. That's the first point that you're wrong on. Why are you agreeing with him with baller concepts being the thing that you're seeking agreement for? Secondly, the thing you're agreeing on is out of date by 110 years. But because you don't know this, Dave, you don't know that he doesn't know this. So you're agreeing with his wrong globe notion of forces. This is amateur night, isn't it?
Yeah, because Dave doesn't know it. So Dave and people like Dave who don't know that they shouldn't be talking about a force of gravity as if it has some relevance, they actually promote a force of gravity because they promote a conversation about how much gravity there would or wouldn't be. It's, you know what I mean? So they're like, no, that doesn't exist.
Exactly. He's doing it with ball and gravity. So you're saying how much force there should or shouldn't be is my equivalent to how much globe there should or shouldn't be. Because that's the bit he's actually talking about. How much Earth curve there shouldn't be is keeping the Feast of Nonsense narratives alive with arguments that are globe-centric in the way that they're discussed. Aren't they? And he's keeping that well and truly alive. We're out there saying, talk about Earth being flat. 8 miles is on screen. Talk about that being a linear distance. Done. Job's a good one. You can extrapolate that for a whole show if you need to. If you want to talk shit for an entire hour, yeah, talk about miles. And you've got all you need.
Sorry.
Go on.
I'm just saying that they both, on the back of that, they both keep each other's bullshit alive.
Bodies of water. Right.
So if the Earth, let me help you with that. They tell us the Earth is 70% water. So that water can't be flat. It would have to curve around the Earth.
Who's they? Is they Google? Because Dave seems to have anthropomorphized Google into a they.
It would have to curve if the Earth is a ball.
What I'm saying is that no, I have to do some thinking about this because
What, is this guy's only rebuttal when presented with something to say I need to go away and think about it?
No, you
when you
also
look at
he can throw a red herring out too, can he?
Object that it's a deformable liquid. Okay.
Yeah, but water, calm water at rest lies flat,
but
and it would have to conform to the curve of the Earth.
So even with its proof, Dave is telling you how water would have to wrap around a globe. Why is that statement in there if he's not a shill?
Well, it's the way he's even saying it, Nathan. It's like he's not saying within your paradigm that water can't do that. He's saying that water would have to curve around the surface of the Earth or something like that. And when he's referencing the Earth, he's talking about the globe. A lot of these people do this. It's like, why are you talking about the Earth, which is the thing we're standing on now, and referencing it as the globe? In your own minds and in the minds of the people listening, you're reinforcing the Earth is a globe when it's not.
Exactly.
You have to speak about that as if it's a separate belief, a religious paradigm.
Yeah, it's really hard to do sometimes, and I get it linguistically we're programmed. I get it. There's enough excuses, but he's not making any effort, is he?
Otherwise, it will be a sheet that shoots off into space.
It's just awful. It makes me cringe. Yeah? Oh, well, all of the ingredients that you'd need to make the Turkish delights would have to exist if Narnia was real. So let's go off through the wardrobe. You'd have to go through the wardrobe to be describing this in Narnia, like we are going to be describing it. We'll be in Narnia when we're describing it. Come with me to Narnia so I can describe to you Narnia and how it can't be real. Come with me through the wardrobe while I describe how real it isn't.
Wait a second. Why is Dave still out here?
I have no idea. It's infuriating.
What the hell is going on here? This is tantamount. This is tantamount to the chairman of PETA getting caught the night before clubbing baby seals with a nail spike 44-inch Louisville Slugger and then showing up for work the next day like nothing happened.
Yeah, how is this allowed? That's a good comparison. Yeah, it's for a spritz. It's the head of the RSPCA getting caught destroying animals in his backyard and then just strolling into work like it's cool, even though he's on the front page of every newspaper with like 24 different paparazzi photographing him actually doing it, covered in the red stuff. And then he just strolls into work. Right, what's on the agenda for protecting animals today?
Yes. Exactly. What the hell is he doing here?
Yeah, I don't get it.
But does he have how many subscribers does he have left? Does he have subscribe? Why? I don't get it. My God.
No, but what I'm saying is the nature of that curvature, okay, or
Okay, the one that you agreed to when you agreed earlier, Dave, that curvature, the one that you keep suggesting and giving examples of how it wouldn't be there when you detail explicitly the curve that you're apparently bracing against with your namesake.
or that deformation, because it is a elastic fluid, will vary. You agree?
No, I disagree. Because large bodies of water at rest lie flat, right? So if we had a lake a mile long, from one, if you're standing at one end.
Okay, but you have different forces on objects, right?
Well, you're just talking about the alleged force of gravity. But when water is at rest, it lies flat. That's how engineers measure the level is
Right,
with
but
water.
so you're assuming there's no other forces at all.
Well, when you're looking at a lake or a reservoir or something where the water is calm.
Yeah, two things. One is I was waiting to hear if anyone said it, but that guy only just earlier on when he referenced water, he tried to employ lumpy water. That's what he tried to employ water with undulations, all different undulations. Right, number one. Number two, he's accused Dave, and this is something the borders often do, of pre-assuming that there's no other forces acting on him. No, you're pre-assuming that there is such a thing as a force of gravity incorrectly, and you're mentally making that act on the water. That's what's going on.
Well,
Dave's not pre-assuming. Go on, John.
In all fairness, Dave gave it to him when he said, well, that's the electric force of gravity. You know, the force that keeps you to a spinning ball.
He's given concession to everything that's valuable. It just beggars belief. Like you say, why is he still here? And it's because, well, so long as he keeps going out there, who's to know?
It's lying flat.
In this model,
hey, Nathan,
in your hypothesis,
Nathan, give me a J. I thought I heard something that it was hard to hear, but give me a J.
It's flat. That's how engineers measure the level is
right,
with
but
water
so you're
level.
assuming there's no other forces at all.
Well, when you're looking at a lake or a reservoir or something where the water is calm, it's lying flat.
In this model, in your hypothesis, it's more than just a hypothesis. You're excluding gravity. You're excluding any other forces.
I certainly am. Let me ask you a question.
So even though he's using a tired old Waters flat, he linked it to engineering, but then has been hoodwinked into suggesting that this is a hypothesis, making him no better than Duffy and making Dave Weiss a fraud. Now, I'm going to attempt to give him a tiny bit of props and say, with a bit of massaging, right, he could take his dusty old 2015 water at rest is flat, and engineers know it, it's used within their principles, to a more concise segue to making a bold statement. Earth is measured flat with the axiomatic principle of water being flat when at rest. That's a slight alteration on what Dave is saying. He's just not saying that bit with any confidence, and it's not on the front foot. He's burying the lead. There's his flat earth proof, and instead of having confidence with stating something that's practically applied to that axiomatic principle, he's arguing with this tosser about whether or not he can formulate it into a hypothesis. So, I know that's a bit of a crap sandwich, but for Dave Weiss, there's stuff that he can work with that he could be battering the opponents with, but he's not. It's buried right in the middle of this stuff. So people could turn around and go, oh no, Dave is good. He did talk about water at rest proving Earth's measured flat. He just didn't actually say it in those words, and it wasn't a headline, and it had no glitz or glamour about it, and it was muttered in the middle of a discussion where the guy's trying to decide whether or not he'll accept to look into water at rest being flat.
Yeah, he said something else, though. Shiva said something else. It was probably 2 J's. Don't worry about it. I'll run into it again.
Yeah, I don't mind.
one end.
Okay, but you have different forces on objects, right?
Well, you're just talking about the alleged force of gravity. But when water is at rest, it lies flat. That's how engineers measure the level is
Right,
with
but
water.
you're assuming there's no other forces.
Say before that.
Yeah, it's before that. 2 J's before that.
The nature of that curvature, okay, or that deformation, because it is a elastic fluid, will
Stop.
vary.
That's what I heard. Stop. Water is not an elastic fluid, you glue sniffer. I knew that. I thought I heard that. All right. I can't wait till I get there on my treatment. You can continue. It's not an elastic fluid. My word.
I certainly am. Let me ask you a question. If something is moving at a constant speed, forget whether the speed is changing or not, but it's turning, it's not going on a linear path.
His hypothetical example leaves the audience member with the turning ball and rotating reference frame of a ball Earth in their mind's eye at the end of the example, doesn't it?
Yeah, he doesn't know how to use the globe against itself. He uses the globe and he uses it against the flat Earth.
That curve, that turn is equal to acceleration. Do you agree with that?
What I'm saying is that you have to lay out the problem very clearly. You're being
I'm trying to lay it out, but you haven't allowed me to show you yet.
But I'm trying to say, Dave, you have to lay.
There's a man's at the red herrings again. Dr. Red Herring.
Lay it out very clearly, because all the stuff out there, I'm willing to look at it in a very clean way.
Sure.
But I don't really care for all the shit out there. What I'm trying to say is let's define the problem in a very precise way.
Okay.
And the definition of
okay, you're an MIT cuck. That's the problem.
The problem definition is very
clown speaking with you.
Very hard to do.
Yeah.
So the problem definition needs to be done very accurately. You have to lay it out saying, these are my assumptions, or these are my initial variables.
These are my assumptions. And you know what we're going to call those assumptions? I'm going to call them something that's a lot more scientific sounding. I'm going to call them variables. Not assumptions anymore. Now, in reality, your independent variable is suppositional. Not assumptive. You're not assuming A will cause B and then getting on with your day. Well, A caused B, I assumed it. No. You suppose it might, and you're going to vary that supposition to see if it does or not. But you're calling these assumptions because in numpty world of globe belief, they are just assumptions, relabeled as things that sound scientific, in this case, variables, when they're not. Is globe a variable? No.
Yeah.
And based on these initial variables.
Yeah.
Can I just jump in before I fall asleep? Because
I give you all the super chats.
Awake for quite a while. Sorry. Yeah. Can I just give a little bit of context to where Dr. Shiva is coming from in relation to how he perceives things and the questions that he's asking? So,
who are you?
Let me do it. What brand of crystal ball do you use?
Yeah. Are you his autobiographer?
I could be his autobiographer, he asked me. So,
all right, go ahead.
So he did he did a biochemistry engineering. He did a biochemistry degree.
No, he doesn't have a biochemistry degree.
He did a PhD.
No, it's bioengineering.
He did a PhD in bioengineering. So that degree now is based under what they call systems engineering.
Yes.
So when we do our, so for example, when we do our masters in engineering management, we do what we call systems engineering. It's based on a model called Kepner-Trago. I'm not sure if QE is familiar with this.
I'm not.
So Kepner-Trago, you're not familiar with it?
No, I'm not an engineer.
Okay. So what it is it's based upon, so Captain Traeger is based upon structured approach to logical assumptions and problems in decision making. And what it does is replicate what would be the natural scientific method in the engineering world. So what you would do is
that's it. No, it doesn't. No,
just let him get to the end of it. You can point out in between, but just
just let me get to where I'm going, and then you can break it down.
Continue down the train wreck analogy. Okay, go ahead.
Yes. Go ahead, Jardo.
It's not an analogy. It's the method that Captain Traeger has been going for 40 years. So what they transpose is the natural scientific method into the engineering world. So if you have a particular system or infrastructure that's working and is designed to work at a certain way, and something goes wrong, that would be what you call the natural observed phenomenon. And then from there, you've got to work out from where the engineered system is going wrong, what would be the cause. So you're working a cause and effect in an engineering system. And then there's a system of analysis, which would be first you create a hypothesis. So, for example, if you're working, and John would, the other John would understand is if there's a system such as an engineering system, such as a series of conveyor systems, and they're set at a certain efficiency, and for some reason they're not working the way they should be, you have to develop what you think is the cause of the effect, and then develop a hypothesis, and then do your fault finding. And what they're doing is in Captain Traeger is
he's nearly there.
I understand what you're saying.
He's nearly there.
I'm nearly done,
He's
Kiwi.
nearly there. He's nearly there. 2 or 3 more sentences. Chill.
I got what he's saying. I already know where he's going. He's already said it.
Right.
Sounds like troubleshooting.
Yes, it is troubleshooting.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's
we're all
fine.
keen to give the summary. We know it's
natural
troubleshooting. It's just a specific method that he knows about it. Let him tell us. He's nearly done.
He already did. Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. Are you done, Jardo?
I get it. I got it. Okay, what's the point?
The point is, once you understand Captain Traeger method, you understand why Dr. Shiva is asking the questions he's asking. Thank you. I can go to sleep now.
Thank you,
He's asking
Jardo.
those questions because he's trying to avoid the topic. He's using as many red herrings as possible. That's what he's doing.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, if you understand the Captain Traeger method, that's what it's built around. So, I mean, I don't know if John's there. I mean, John's an electrician come Cert 4 in instrumentation. He'll understand this method. So anyway.
It doesn't matter. We all understand the method. It's cause and effect. What are you doing? You're troubleshooting a system. You have to figure out where the cause of the effect is. That's fine. We get it. I got it. Thanks. Not natural science, though.
No, I didn't say it was. I said that the Captain Traeger method was supposedly a transposition from the natural scientific method into engineering analysis.
Right. It's bastardized natural science into a man-made cause and effect ordeal.
Yeah, as Brian put it, troubleshooting.
Yes, that's fine. That's cool.
Yeah, it's just not natural science. And yes, we all know that, and I'm sure Jardo does too.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Cool. Right, well, I'll leave some meat on the bone for you, QE.
Meat on the bone? How far did you get through it?
25 minutes.
How long is it?
40 minutes. 45 minutes.
40 minutes? 45. Okay.
Yeah. It upsets me. Covering people on my own side like this upsets me greatly. Depresses me.
Your own people.
Yeah. Because you want better, don't you?
Your own people.
You strive.
Yeah.
Your hope is that you'll convert the uninitiated, and your expectation is that people on your own freaking side will get it. You know what I mean? When you get neither. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's where our problem is. We had two different missions. See, you're into converting. I'm into exposing. That's where it's going.
No, I've always known that. I lean more towards the conversion side than exposure.
I'm into dispelling.
You just come up with new adjectives.
Fair enough. This guy, he's a cuck, though. Mr. Pretended Clown. I can already tell. As soon as he said waters and elastic fluid, he's a cuck. I can't wait to hear the rest of his nonsense.
A schmuck?
Cuck.
Cuck.
A schmuck cuck.
I'll describe what that means.
He's the reason, not him, but the archetype of why I'm out here. Of people using their credentials to intimidate others that they think are lower than them. I'm his Huckleberry, Mr. Engineer. When you come into my realm of natural science, I'm going to leave you with that just pump the neighbor's cat look on your face. Hey, son?
You need to hear what goes on after this. You need to hear the way things go.
How about before it?
Well, yeah, but Nathan should play on.
Hey, I'll get a cup of coffee and we'll have a bit more in a bit if you want. Where's that done?
But it's hard,
I'm hoping we'll do a bit more book.
It's not today.
Why
I
not?
got a show today.
Oh, you've got a show
I got a
today.
show today.
Well, why can't you do it on your show?
I ain't doing a book on my show.
Why not?
Where's Meekin?
We're not doing my book on my show.
But there's things that will benefit me. You realise that, right?
Yeah, but I understand that, but it's not going to happen.
Seems a bit selfish.
You think?
Yeah. Anytime people aren't doing the thing that benefits me, I consider them selfish.
I'm making this hypothesis. So what are your initial variables? There is no gravity. That's one of the things you're just bringing up now.
Well, that doesn't have anything to.
What the hell is that? That's a hypothesis. There is no gravity. He's a clown. This guy.
This is the guilt trip. This is the next thing. It's the guilt trip. It's like, oh, you're not adding in the thing that you would have to add in for my paradigm to be inserted into reality. So the adding in of a force of gravity or any gravity at all, but especially though they're out of date, a force of gravity gets the foot in the door of reality. Before you know it, they're standing in your sitting room drinking coffee. No, we're not adding that in, Dr. Nonsense.
How about the hypothesis? Oh, boy.
You see what I call him earlier to you? Dr. Pretender Clown Agreement Ladder. That's what he is.
Is that what he does for the most part through this thing?
Yeah. As I said earlier, you could call him Dr. Red Herring as well if you want.
Oh, he likes to divert away to irrelevant, nonsensical topics.
Yeah, you're very specifically speaking to me about a very specific thing, and I take that thing, let's say a door frame, and I go, you know, the screws go into that door frame.
Sure.
There's other screws that go into these windows I know about, and before you know it, you're not talking about a door frame.
Yeah. I got you. Yeah.
I said earlier on, like that basically anyone on 24/7 or politics or any of the flat earthers, they would take him apart. And I said, if you sent in Flatsy would have annihilated this guy with all these logical nonsense. And he's trying to be something. Do you know what I mean? Someone like Flatsy would have just don't care of business with him. Just someone he doesn't know anything about, doesn't have any credentials, just on Discord, not expecting this. You know what I mean? Was not expecting this haymaker that he's going to get.
Too funny. All right, we done?
No, I think Nathan's getting coffee.
To do with this, but we can get into what gravity is if you want.
No, David, forget gravity, forget round Earth, flat Earth. I'm just saying when you you start with the scientific method, you come with a hypothesis. Then you go down to the methodology that you're going to use to validate your hypothesis, what you call the experiment. Then you're going to say what data I'm going to collect. So if we were to take a fresh, clean sheet of paper, we'd write down what is a hypothesis.
Hypothesis is that the Earth is flat.
But it's more than
Earth
that.
is flat as a
You're saying
hypothesis.
that the Earth, because then you're going to propose an experiment. Your experiment is based on not just being the Earth is geometrically flat. You're basing that on some other, all additional hypotheses.
Well, I'm basing it on the fact that the globalists, the science, today's science that they teach us from the Rockefeller-funded textbooks, tell us that the Earth curves at 8 inches per mile squared. That's what they tell us because we live on a ball 24,901 miles around.
I'm basing it on measurements. That's what I'm basing it on, Dr. Nonsense. Measurements of the Earth prove that it's geometrically a flat plane with topography above and below that flat plane. End of story. Yeah. That's what I'm basing it on.
Additional hypotheses.
Yeah.
What a clown. Nathan, are you playing this?
The Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, 1,040 to be exact, right? At the equator. Slower in other areas because it's making a smaller circle as you get closer to the alleged poles, right? And then it's orbiting at 66,600 miles an hour, speeding up and slowing down, average speed 66,600. All of these are curved trajectories. We're also chasing the sun at close to 500,000 miles per hour. So you got this lumpy rock surrounded by water, surrounded by high pressure air, adjacent to a void of no pressure called space.
No, we haven't.
And it's making 4 different motions at once, and none of it is ever felt anywhere. No one ever can measure it. No one can ever see it or anything. But when you go out into nature, you see stuff like this, right? You see.
I don't care about all this. I'm just saying, let's just take a clean sheet of paper. None of this is. I like math,
right?
And experiments.
So, I have one for you if you allow me to show it to you.
All I know, David, is that it is very difficult in science or engineering to make something, build something, validate something.
Sure.
And it takes great amount of effort to someone to have made this, okay? I have great value for people who make things these days, okay?
Sure.
So we have to honor that. So all of these statements that people just make, whether you make it or others, I do actual experiments even go against the scientific establishment, okay?
I get it.
At the end of the day, I win because I get data. It matches the hypothesis I made, and I have data to validate it, okay?
So if you allow me to show you my data that will validate my hypothesis, and you can tell me where I'm wrong.
I want to get the
I got an experiment.
The hypothesis you're saying is
scientific method.
If you take 2 points on the Earth, any 2 points, anywhere, that you're saying that it is not going to match the curvature of X,
correct.
X. So let's just get it very clear, okay?
Correct.
But the hypothesis you're saying is that I would be more precise if this is what you're saying.
Let's get this bullshit squared away.
2 points. The distance between those points, if it's an arc, right? The circumference of the Earth is, let's say, 2 pi r, whatever the radius of the Earth is. The arc of that particular point, right, or the arc length, if it's in fact following a radius, is going to have a certain distance at any point based on that curvature, right?
Sure.
Now, this all depends on the
following a radius.
You have to measure this very carefully, and you have to also look at there's local changes within any 2 points, right? Because
that's why we do it. That's why we do it over water or the Great Salt Flats in Bolivia. We measure there. And those places are level.
But you're saying there's 2 points, and then your experiment is going to say that we're going to go measure between these 2 points.
Correct.
Which are, you're going to choose a location, okay?
Yep.
What you're saying is, what is the location you're choosing here?
So this is a reservoir, and it's frozen, and then we have a camera 6 inches off the ice. So it's at night, so it's hard to see. But we put these lights out here. Okay, 4 lights, right? 8 miles, 7 miles, 6 miles, and 5 miles. Now, it doesn't sound like a lot, but according to the globe math, what they tell us, right? This one should be more than 30 feet below the curve, behind the curve. Right? This one, 22 feet.
Let's just do the math ourselves. What is the, if we just look at that, what is the curvature? I mean, I can get out a calculator.
The curvature is, you can go to curvature calculator.
Yeah.
Mike, let's just do the math ourselves.
Yeah. So it's 8.
He stopped it for you, John.
I thought we were
because
just
he special boy. That's his special boy. And we say Kiwi doesn't matter.
I had John saying something along the lines of you'll need a flat Earth for that in the Earth curve maths, and it needed expanding on. I know it was coming. The rest of the colour commentary
he said, "Oh, you'll definitely find," when Dave said, "You'll find the curvature in the Earth curve maths." John said, "Oh, yeah," sarcastically, "Oh, you'll definitely find it there." In other words, you won't.
8 times 8.
Hold on. So I'm going to bring up a spreadsheet here. Okay.
Yep.
So what is a curvature from point A to point B?
That's science.
The curvature that it's supposed to be is 8 inches per mile squared. So you got 8 times 8.
8 inches. 8 inches is the curvature per mile squared.
8 inches per mile squared. Because if it was 8 inches per mile, that would just be a ramp. Right? It's exponentially curving faster and faster, right? This formula is a parabola after like 2,000 miles. Nobody can see 2,000 miles. So we're just doing this. It works. It actually gives the
No, you're saying if this point is 0, the parabola is going like this.
Correct. And after about 2,000 miles, it's not valid anymore. But up to 2,000 miles, it's within a couple of feet.
Right. But if you just take a simple parabola, okay? Just basic
Nathan,
like algebra.
I have to get to the pause. I'm sorry.
Here's flat.
Pause. This is the second time in only a few minutes Dave has done this. First of all, he brought up the rotation of the globe, and people keep on bringing up, and the speed of that is 1,040 miles per hour. Right? Who cares what the claim speed is? The claim is that the Earth is rotating 15 degrees per hour, right? That's the claim, that the Earth is rotating and moving. That's all that matters, right? Not the specifics of what rate, but that can come into it later if it's important, if it really needs to, but it shouldn't need to. All you should need is that. Now, Dave has brought up the 8 inches per mile squared, and he had to add in, and it's accurate up to a certain distance, and then it becomes a parabola or whatever kind of nonsense. Why even add that in? Right? Why even add it? Because now the guy is latching onto this parabola thing for nothing. Never mind all that. Right? Why even saying the word parabola? Leave him bring up that rubbish. Get that wrong. Leave him do all that. Right? These little things, it's like it's like talking about boiling water and talking about the specific temperature it boils at, and then someone like General can say, well, if you boil it in a plastic cup, it'll come up at a different. No, it doesn't matter. All that matters is the cause of the boiling. That's all that matters, right? You know what I mean? We don't need all the other nonsense. Sorry. Not sorry.
And here's the y-axis down this way. So if this is 0, 0, you're saying it's going to go like this, right?
Yep.
Okay. So what is the equation of that curve? Y equals what? Minus what x squared?
It's the Pythagorean theorem, right? It's 8 inches.
Well, it's not Pythagorean. It has to be.
You can measure the radius, right?
But what is the equation? Y equals minus what is k x squared? That's what I'm asking.
You know what? The way I look at it is that we just use the Pythagorean theorem, and it works out.
It's not the Pythagorean theorem. It's a parabola. If you're saying it's a curvature, right?
Yeah.
If this is 0, right, it's going to curve like this. So what is the equation? Y. I'm just asking what's the equation? Y equals minus something x squared. What is that?
Let me show you the easy way to do it. All right. Where is it? Okay. So
Well, that's one of the easiest ways. It's just y equals just simple
Right.
algebra.
So we
Who
have a squared plus
cares?
b squared equals c squared. It's a Pythagorean theorem. So if we put that on a globe, they tell us the radius of the Earth is this is the radius, and we went out x distance. This would be the drop right here. So they tell us the radius is 3963, another made up number, right? But that's the official story. So this is not the scale, of course. So we got our radius. If we went 100 miles out, we can square the numbers and figure out what the drop would be, right? So the hypotenuse would be.
No, I got to understand it simply. Let's just. You just said it's something x squared, and you said it's a parabola.
3963
squared
times 100 squared,
right?
Equals the hypotenuse of 15,715,000 feet.
But then you have to take the square root of that.
Correct.
To come to which point you're out in outer space then.
So we are. We're up in the air, right? But if you subtract the radius from that, it comes out to 1.2615 miles, which is the drop. 1.2, which is 6,660 feet. At 100 miles, there would be over a mile of drop if the Earth was curved, right?
Let me look. So you have, go back. Let's go back. Okay, so hold on. You're saying the radius is 3,963 miles. You go 100 miles. And at that point, if the Earth was flat, right?
If the Earth was curved, we'd have the difference of the radius.
Yeah, but before you go to
here.
But that's a flat Earth model.
No, that's the globe model. I'm calculating the drop on a globe. No.
If you were at that point and you were flat and you came out, you want to try to find out if you were going from the. I'm saying that is if the Earth is flat, right?
No, this is if the Earth was a globe. If I went out straight and on a straight line from the tangent of my feet and I didn't follow the curve, after 100 miles, I would be 1.2615 miles high, which is 6,600 feet. Right? That's how much curve there is. At 10 miles, there's 66 feet of curvature.
If you just flew a plane straight.
If I flew a plane straight and didn't follow the curve, right? It didn't follow the curve.
Well, yeah. So let's just say you just draw. You should be at.
Which one's the glober? Which one's the flat earther?
So you should be.
I'm confused now.
So 3964 is that 0.26 minus 3963. Yeah, you should be from that point. Again, you have to be careful where you're measuring that point.
I'm measuring from here straight down towards the center of the Earth.
Well, no. I'm saying that distance is from the surface to the point that you're at, the 1.2615 miles.
See here?
Yeah.
Right, because I went out straight. I didn't follow the curve. So now I'm up in the air. That's what I'm saying. If an airplane didn't curve, it would fly out into space.
Right. But what I'm saying is you have to be very careful on the measurements. When you write your research methodology out, you have to write this very precisely because in science, an experiment can be reproduced by anyone. You publish this, someone else should be able to go reproduce it.
Everyone can. It's been done 1,000 times. We have thousands of measurements.
I don't care about any of that. I want to do this from scratch, okay? Because I like stuff. Just go back. Okay. Go back. What I'm saying is, Dave, if you go back to the previous diagram.
I'm going. Go ahead.
Right. So if let's say you want to use a lake or flat plain somewhere, okay? So if I start a plane straight and I just go straight, okay? And I just fly that plane straight, right? I don't even take off. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, the Earth should drop out from underneath you if it's curved.
Right. So if I just go straight, okay, and taking into account, if I just go straight, meaning straight into
what the hell is going on here?
A flat surface, and I go 100 miles straight.
The drop over distance. That's what's going on.
If we're going straight, then I'm going straight.
If the Earth is round, according to that, after 100 miles going straight, I should be 1.265 miles from the surface. That's what we're saying here.
That's what we're saying, yes. Now, do you know how planes stay level? They have a gyroscope on a 3-axis gimbal that spins up and holds rigidity in space. So as the plane turns, goes up and down, the gyroscope always stays level. It always stays level. It holds rigidity in space based on their initial airport. If you flew halfway over the globe, the gyroscope would be vertical. It's not going to curve with you.
No, forget all of them. Let's just keep it simple, stupid principle. Okay, you get a flat surface of 100 miles, according to this hypothesis you're proposing. And if I were to just fly something straight, if the Earth is round,
you'd end up in space. You'd be 80,000 feet in the air in 1 hour.
Well, I should be 1.2615, which is 5,000.
Oh, for just 100 miles, sure. Sorry.
Yeah. So let's just get that number right, which is 1.2615, 1.2615,
1.2615. 1.2615.
3 minutes to walk,
which is the number of feet
732
in a mile. So you should be at, that's interesting, 666.
Yeah, that's another thing, dude.
Okay, anyway, so in this model, you should be at 6,660 feet above the ground. Okay, that's what we're saying. All right.
Is that not what Dave told him about 10 minutes ago? Right? This guy can't understand a drop from a tangent over distance, or a drop from level over distance, let's just say. He can't understand drop. He just can't get it. Dave told him in this exact thing, and it wasn't registering with him. But that's a flat Earth model with all the drop from level. Sorry, Nathan. Not really.
Yeah. Can I just show you a little side note? 6 times 6 times 600 is the circumference of the Earth. It curves at 0.666 inches per mile, 66.6 thousand miles per hour around the sun. 6 times 6 times 60 is it's just, and there's hundreds more of these. Okay. It's kind of weird.
I don't care about all that.
Go ahead.
I care about actually doing an independent experiment. Go back.
Got it. Yeah.
So go back.
I'm going.
So just to be clear, if you apply that and I file, now I have to be able to fly that plane in a flat thing. That's very important. Okay.
Yes.
All right. That's an interesting thing with gravity. Okay.
With gravity, I knew it was coming in there.
Can I show you an example of a pilot that did No,
I don't want to go there yet. I just want to I just want to intellectually understand this in my own. I don't want to see any other data. I'm looking at it. Clean sheet of paper.
Okay.
You and I are putting together an experiment. The hypothesis is if I file 100 miles, are you all set? Okay. If you just file something very flat on a flat surface and you're proposing.
I don't know. He just dropped in. If you fly flat on a very flat surface, and he showed a hand sign that showed flatness coming out towards the horizon in a flat manner. Yeah, welcome to flat Earth.
We can't see it. We can't see him. You got some stupid. Why don't you share this with us so we can see, the mannerisms and stuff?
He won't. He just wants to be awkward.
Can I say something?
What's Brian's dealio?
Just state it as it is.
Okay. If you just file something very flat on a flat surface and
welcome to flat Earth.
Make it bigger.
We make it bigger. That's your problem, not mine.
See, I told you he wants to be awkward. He could make the video itself bigger, but he won't. He'll make it smaller if we keep complaining or take it away again.
What's that? Make it smaller?
Come on, dude. Make it bigger. I can't even see him on here.
Okay, look. There you go.
You'll want to see his expressions.
Beast mode.
Right, are we all done here now?
At this stage.
Is that it?
If you just got on YouTube yesterday.
Right, perfect. I think that's an excellent segue to round out. So with that, another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.